Hello, I'm Gory B Movie, and tonight we are talking about everything we love about Scream, baby. With me tonight are my very special guests. Just go in a circle.
Hello, I'm Kim.
Oh. Hold on a second.
Oh, maybe not.
All right, Kim, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Kim. I am oh man, there's so many things. I'm a paranormal investigator and I do murder tours and ghost tours. I'm a filmmaker and I have a podcast called Ghoulish Tendencies where we talk about all things weird, creepy, ghoulish, etc. That's most of the list.
Who is this dapper masked gentleman? Do give us introductions.
My name is Maveryk Media. For those of you who have not met me, for those of you that have, hello. I don't have a keyboard to type in the comments, so I'm just saying a blanket hello to everybody. I am a content creator. I do put out stuff from time to time, not as much as I would like, partly because I'm a full-time dad and juggle work at the same time. So, but yeah, if you have never seen my channel, come check it out. You'll see me wearing this dapper gear now. It's my new outfit, and yeah, trying to give the channel a little facelift for the new year.
My very good friend Steven, obviously you are exactly in the right place.
Absolutely, you know, right where I belong. And hey guys, hey everyone, how man, what a great night! This is something I've been looking forward to, and I'll kind of steal a play from Mav's book. Blanket hello to the chat. Now, although I did type, I do have a keyboard, but I like to stay focused on the panel when we're chatting. But hello to everyone. I see your beautiful names and some of your beautiful faces. So thanks for being here. And Gory B Becker, thanks for the invitation to talk about my most favorite movie of all time.
I am super excited. And guys, thank you for the super chats because I do have a panel of 3 people. I am not going to get to everyone's comments today, but if you do absolutely need me to read your comment, best way to do that is send me a super chat because then I will. So let's thank the 2 people who just gave me super chats. Connie Cleary, thank you so much for your generous donation. And my very good friend, the Bearded Entertainment, Eric, says, look at these beautiful people talking about one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Absolutely. Also, you're going to see that gentleman on an upcoming one because this is like a whole month-and-a-half thing of Scream.
Yeah.
With my buddy Craven. On Wednesdays, we're watching the movies on his channel. Sundays, we're talking about them, leading up to Scream 6. So thank you, Connie and Eric. And just for you, I've got a very special little clip. Nothing says I love you like execution.
Love
It's
it.
adorable. It's true. That's all true. But thank you guys so much, everyone who is in the chat. I see your beautiful faces. I see Brandon and Philip Morgan, Chunky Doherty, Denisha, Cheers for Fears. I think I saw movie Massacre earlier, and Horror Addicts, Jason the Nice One, Mr. Flickster. If I missed you, Jason, and Afro Whale. Good to see all of you guys here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And we have a lot to cover, guys. This is a big one, and I think it's one that everyone has a lot to talk about. So we are focusing tonight. I mean, it won't be hard because it's Scream, on what we love about Scream. So there's not going to be any negative naysaying here because, you know, there's just no reason for it because it's just the perfect movie. It's just the perfect movie. Okay.
It is.
Yep.
So let's see. Let's start talking about the movie. And to kick things off,
it's a Scream, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna need a little bit. We're gonna have a lot of stew in the house tonight for my friends.
I love Stu so much.
Yes.
Me too. Okay, so to kind of introduce everybody to you guys and the topic, when did you first see Scream? How old were you, and what were your first impressions?
Well, I first saw Scream. I was a teenager. I didn't see the first one in theaters, but I watched it. I feel like many with a group of my friends in the basement of someone's house. Because I remember at one point one of my friends sneaking out and going around and putting a ghost face mask on and like jumping at the window with a fake knife being like, ah! So that left an impression, but right from the get-go I was hooked. I loved it. I grew up on slashers. I loved slashers, and so I loved this kind of transition from the 80s into this very new self-aware slasher that was funny and cracking jokes and had all these Easter eggs for people who liked horror. I loved it.
Very cool. What about you, Mav?
Yeah, so there were some cons to having 8 and 9 year old brothers, you know, that the age gap was 8 and 9 years, but one of the pros was I was 10 years old and they took me to go see this movie. I asked if they would let me tag along. Now, I was desensitized as a kid. I saw like all kinds of stuff that I probably shouldn't have, but this was one of the pros that I got to go see this movie in theaters. I was 10 years old, and it was the way I've explained it to people is it was one of those things because I was early in my horror journey, right? I was a fan of horror movies. They scared the heck out of me, but I loved it. But it was that, remember Tim Roth in Pulp Fiction where he opens the briefcase and looks at it and he just goes, "It's beautiful." That's how I felt when I left the movie as a kid, as a 10-year-old, and it hasn't changed. This is one movie that has never soured for me. It's aged like wine, and I absolutely love it. So yeah, I was lucky. I got to see it really, really young. So, and I got the theater experience.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, Craven?
Yeah, so it's a very vivid memory. I'll never forget. I was coming home from work. Well, first of all, I saw a trailer for it on television. It was around Christmas time that I saw it. And I said, "Oh, look at this. This is," and of course, the trailer for Scream 1, if you ever go back and YouTube and look it up, it's great. And they frame it in such a way where it's showing the different cast members, and obviously they're showing them as suspects. It was very clear it was a whodunit, right from the way they did the trailer. And I remember them talking about how, you know, of course, from the master of suspense, Wes Craven. And I'm like, whoa, what? Wes, hold on a second, man. And I said, oh my gosh, I've got to go see this movie. So I was able to go because I was an adult when it came out. Yeah, that's how old I am. And I was able to actually go and watch the movie after work one night. And it made such an impact on me. I can remember I remember the theater I went to, everything still clearly. And I remember walking out of the theater, and I went by myself, went solo that night. And like I say, right after work, I went straight there. And I remember just having this feeling of, oh my gosh, I just watched something very special, very, very special. And I'm like, it felt different. It was not what your typical slasher film is. And the overwhelming feeling after that was I need to talk to everyone I know at work, at home, and the family, doesn't matter, friends, casual. I mean, people under the, people out, just strangers. I don't care. Everybody needs to go see this movie. And it was that meaningful. And it changed my life. It rocked my world. And it to this day remains my most favorite movie of any genre, of any style of all time. It is just we'll get into it. There's so much to unpack. Oh my gosh, there's so much. I mean, woo.
Brandon says, I watched the first Scream and Scream 2 in reverse order in elementary school after dressing up as Ghostface for my school's Halloween parade. That's awesome. My first memory of Scream, I was also a teenager. I was 16, and I used to go to Hastings, which is like a video store. And Gory, because Gory is expensive. But I would always read it. I would just sit there and read the whole thing. And I remember reading about it because Drew Barrymore's on the cover, and she's been my favorite actress for forever. And so I was like, "Ooh, what's this?" And checking it out, and they're talking about all the effects and everything. And I was just like, "This is going to be so exciting," because there had been kind of a lull with slashers at the cinema. We hadn't really had a slasher in the cinema for a while. And if I wanted to see one, it had to be something like I'd get direct to video, like The Dentist or something. But there hadn't been like a big thing like this for a long time. And I was like, kick ass. I think, this is going to be big. This is going to, bring it back, because it seems like it's really different. And they had, a lot of people who weren't big stars, but like if you were a teenager, you knew
TV stars. Yeah,
you knew Nev Campbell from Party of Five.
Party of Five.
Seen The Craft. So like I was excited about the people, especially Drew Barrymore, and of course Wes Craven, who was my favorite director and still is my favorite director. So really excited. My buddy and I went to go see it, and I just remember just being like jaw open the whole time, like every scene was just like the best scene ever. I loved every single character, and just talking a mile a minute afterwards, and just so excited about this movie. And I remember when it came out on VHS, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna just take all my babysitting money and go buy it. So absolutely loved it. It instantly became my favorite movie.
Yep.
Yes.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about how Scream changed horror. So here we go. This is Kevin Williamson. I got lots of pictures and stuff for you guys today. This is Kevin Williamson. I believe when they did Scream 4, he is the writer of Scream, and he wrote it when he was really young. He's actually really a little freaked out because of some things that were going on in the world and that he was hearing about on the news. He is an incredible writer. You would know him from Dawson's Creek. And after this movie, obviously, he wrote tons of other movies. And even the ones he didn't write were clearly inspired by his really witty, savvy dialogue. Up until Scream, we didn't really have a lot of really smart characters in horror movies. These were characters who not only were smart and savvy and weren't going to just walk into certain doom, but they also were aware of horror movies. They'd seen horror movies. So they're like, yeah, that's a horror movie situation, which we didn't see a lot of in movies at the time. But Craven, you are quite the Scream buff.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
So can you tell us a little bit more about how Kevin Williamson came up with the idea for Scream?
Yeah, so interesting story. He was house sitting for a friend one night, and there was a special on TV about the Gainesville Ripper, and he was actually on the phone with a friend at the time, and he was getting a little freaked out. Sometimes we all can kind of get in our own heads and get a little freaked out. And so he was talking to his friend, he's watching this show, and he thinks he hears something outside, and he thought to himself, oh my gosh, how terrifying would it be if I was talking to someone here, and this whole idea birthed into his mind for the opening scene with Drew. And basically what he did was he went out to Palm Springs for 3 days. He locked himself in a hotel room, didn't come out, and he banged out the entire script in that 3-day period. And that's what he took and started to shop at all the studios. And it went to multiple studios. There was a bidding war. It came down to like 2 studios, Miramax, and I'm trying to remember the other one. Oh my gosh, sorry. But it was down to 2 studios, and Miramax actually won the bid. They won. I have to say, looking back, unfortunately, because of the Weinstein ruling.
Right.
Unfortunately, they won, but that's all right. We'll keep
Luckily, with
positive.
this movie, there's a lot of stories of where Bob mostly worked with them on these movies.
True.
But where Bob, in particular, was like, "Let's do this," and
Yes.
because this movie, they really didn't think it was gonna do like super well. So if Wes or someone was like, "No, I don't really want to do that," they're like, "Okay, fine, whatever."
Yeah.
This movie made a lot of money, so on the sequels, they were like, "No, you're gonna do this," which sucks because it made a lot of money.
Right.
They did a good job.
That's right, and the good news is that and I think which also speaks to how another reason why it's such a masterpiece. They stayed out of Wes's way on the first one, and this was Wes doing his movie, and then look what he did with it. Just, I mean, my gosh, it's like, why would you not do that for every sequel ever? He does. You just get out of his way, but for this movie though, they Miramax won the bidding war. I think they bought the script for like $400,000 to Kevin Williamson. That's a nice payday, right, for 3 days work.
Absolutely.
And so he sold it to him for $400,000, and then they wanted Wes Craven. They wanted Wes Craven from day one. Wes Craven, and again, am I getting too far ahead, Gory? I don't want to.
We're going to talk about Wes Craven a little bit more in a bit.
We'll save
how
that.
he comes into it, because he doesn't come.
Yeah.
He doesn't come in quite right away, but talk about Kevin Williamson a little bit more. It was a dream for him to work with Wes Craven. That was originally who he wanted, and it didn't look like it was going to happen at first. So, like the line in there about Nightmare on Elm Street, that's not Wes Craven. Wes Craven wanted that taken out, but that's what horror people will say. That's what fans say. I guess the line he gets the most shit for, though, when he meets fans is the Tom Cruise line. But I mean, who hasn't? Actually, the first thing I did after I saw Scream was go home and go rent Risky Business, because you tell me someone's dropping dogs.
It was all the right moves, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Risky Business.
I thought she said all the right moves.
Oh no, it is all the right moves. You're right. No,
yeah.
Okay,
I just remember being frustrated that they didn't give a timestamp. I mean,
I know, right?
That'd be only polite, right? Like, you can't make a promise like that and then not tell me exactly where I need to go to see it.
Yeah, say 49 minutes and 36 seconds. And then we're, other than that, it was fine.
I wonder how many people actually, because this is back in the day of Blockbuster, in the highlight, it's talking about here still.
Yeah.
And I actually, now that you bring it up, I wonder how many rentals of that movie spiked because of Scream. Seriously.
Absolutely.
I bet it was huge.
Yep. Guaranteed.
So Gory, I have to follow through and ask the question then, since you volunteered the information. Did you find the scene?
Well, here's the thing. As much as you wouldn't expect it for all the talk I do on here, I was very much like a final girl in high school. I was very virginal. I'd never done drugs or anything. So I was pretty confident I did. But now looking back, and I think sometimes we see dongs when we want to see dongs.
I
didn't really have anything to go
and sometimes
off of.
When we don't want to see them too.
Yeah. But at the time, I don't know. It was the whole thing was very much, I mean, I read a whole novel on it. It was very much like Stand By Me, but when you actually get to the part where you see the body, it's like, it wasn't about seeing the pause dong. It was the journey to it.
Right.
Yeah. You guys get it.
That's a great analogy. I love that.
Thank you, Maveryk. Let's talk. Maveryk, you're a big fan of this movie too. Why do you think the dialogue, his dialogue in this movie works so well?
Well, I mean, they dabbled so much in pop culture, even it's stuff that mostly it's still relevant to this day. That, I mean, there's things that my wife and I are, several years apart, but she can watch this movie and hear, the "oh really, Alicia," the Clueless reference, you know what I mean? And she gets it, right? We're almost 10 years apart. So they did it. It seems like every swing that they took, every at bat that they had, they just knocked it out of the park. Like every decision when they zigged instead of zagging, it was perfect. Cause there's plenty of films that you watch now where they do that, or from the past, that they just don't age as well. And this one, it seems like every choice that they made was just perfect. So
very well said.
The other thing, is that they're relatable, right? They talk like we talked when we were that age, right? It's not,
Mhm.
you know, you watch some of these Netflix movies or whatever, and they don't write 18-year-olds to sound like 18-year-olds. Even though the actors are in their 30s or late 20s, they talk like kids, you know. Matthew Lillard's the perfect example. I mean, that guy, he sounds like he literally just walked from Venice Beach onto the set. But he's so relatable, and like if you're not that person, you know somebody who talks just like that. So yeah, everything was just so executed perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said. Kim, in addition to being a horror movie expert, also is a true crime expert. I didn't mention it earlier, but everybody here, their links for Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube are in the chat. For Kim, you'll find a link to her podcast, Ghoulish Tendencies. So do check out all of these things after the stream or during, or I don't know, whenever. You live your own life. But Kim, hit us with some of that true crime knowledge. Tell us a little more about the Gainesville Ripper and how it inspired, or how his crimes inspired, the Woodsboro murders and Scream.
Well, the Gainesville Ripper, Danny Rolling, and I actually did a 2-part episode on Danny Rolling of the podcast that I'm on, Ghoulish Tendencies. So if you want to go down a rabbit hole, you can find that episode. I mean, like, awful guy, horrible guy. Not just because he brutally murdered 8 people in total that we know of. But then a lot of the shenanigans that he pulled after the fact. But he came into the public eye in August of 1990 when he broke into the apartment of 2 young girls who had just arrived in Florida to go to college, and brutally sexually assaulted them and murdered them. And then the next night he broke into someone else's home, an 18-year-old girl, and murdered her. And then another day, I believe, would go by and he killed 2 more young people. And he didn't just kill them, he posed them, he mutilated them. One of them, he decapitated one of the girls and posed her head so that it appeared to be looking at her body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which seeing some of the way then in Scream that they set up some of the bodies, like I think again the iconic opening scene, very much inspired by the way he would take apart some of the bodies and pose them.
Mm-hmm.
And it would turn out they would ultimately arrest him by he had been living in the woods. He'd done a handful of bank robberies, and they'd found this campsite, and there was all this weird stuff there, including a audio cassette tape.
Mm-hmm.
And it went into evidence. Nobody listened to it for a while, and they finally came back to it and start listening. And which, P.S., I have the entire tape. It's bonkers listening to. It's mostly him singing songs because he wanted to be a singer, but he makes all these weird allusions to things about like cutting up a deer and how to butcher a deer and all this. And they start to slowly connect him to the murders, and they find out he's already in prison for robbery.
Yeah.
So they they charge him with these murders. They link him to 3 more murders that had happened in 89 in Shreveport. And ultimately he's found guilty, sentenced to death. He was executed I think 2006. But he started this really weird relationship with a reporter, and they wrote a book together, and he serenaded her in court one day. Yeah, which you can find it on YouTube. He just starts singing a love song to her, and you can see the judge just being like, okay, and his attorney just like he was such a shit show of a human. He tried to kill his own father. It's
I
like,
was gonna say, didn't he get arrested for like shooting his dad or something like that? Or
well, his dad had him arrested for stealing a car, but then he tried to shoot He tried to, or no, he did shoot his dad. He shot his dad. I think it was like in the eye, but his dad survived.
Yes, right, yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, like his dad, Danny Rolling made a lot of accusations. His dad was horrifically abusive, and there's evidence to suggest that. But you know, a lot of people deal with things other than going out and mutilating a bunch of people.
Absolutely.
The first murders he committed, in fact, he broke into the home of an older man who was living with his daughter, who's in her 20s, and his 8-year-old nephew, or her 8-year-old nephew was his grandson. So he brutally murdered to be fair, that's not a sentence I usually say. He brutally murdered the other two. He killed the child quickly.
Jeez.
But it's
Wow.
the history of him is fascinating. He's the one, if this might ring a bell, he said that he was driven to do it because he went and saw The Exorcist 3, and that he had an alternate personality called the Gemini. Who had caused him to do these murders.
Jesus.
It also kind of ties into this movie, you know, where they talk about don't blame the movies. You know, movies don't make killers. Movies make killers more creative. So yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit later when we get more into the movie. But yeah, I think that's really interesting. Definitely, we can see why Kevin Williamson, alone in his apartment, it's dark, is really freaked out. And I guess the only good thing that came from this is this awesome movie. By the way, hello, Mommy B Movie. Everyone say hi to my mother. She's in the chat.
Hello, Mommy. Hi.
Let's talk about how Wes Craven came into this. So Wes Craven was Kevin Williamson's first choice. So it was kind of like, oh, really? We could get Wes Craven? And Wes Craven's like, yeah, I am so over making movies where women are getting cut up and stuff. Like he was feeling kind of bad about his career, and he was doing music at the heart. He's like, I'm past that now. I don't do that anymore. So I'm sorry, I'm not interested. So they talked to Robert Rodriguez, they talked to George Romero, they talked to Sam Raimi, Danny Boyle, and just nobody was quite working out. Well, Wes Craven, I think it's at a convention. He had a 12-year-old boy come up to him and is like, why don't you make another kick-ass movie? And I guess having his kick-assness challenged kind of made him like, oh.
By a tween.
Yeah. Then on top of that, he found out that Drew Barrymore had been cast. He's like, ooh, I would like to work with her. You know, she's a big deal. She was cast as Sydney, which we're going to come back to that in a little bit. Yeah, so that's what got his interest. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Craven? Because I know you know a lot about this.
Yeah, no, you said it well. I mean, yeah, he was basically challenged by the kids around 12, and he was like, well, you know, maybe I should go back and think about this. And after that interaction he had, he called up, Bob Weinstein, because he basically came to the realization where he says, you know, he said his whole career he's been fighting this his whole career because he wanted to do other things than horror. But then he realized that the movies that he's made have been really important and have crossed boundaries, and they cross boundaries of decency and are also scary because they're really ruthless. And he said, you know what? I want to get back to that. So he called Bob Weinstein and said, if the job is still open, I'll take it. Which, of course, they made 4 different attempts to get him on for 4 different pitches for him to come aboard, and he turned him down every time. And then finally, after that kid said that to him, it's something just clicked inside of him and it ignited a fire. And look at the fire he gave us, the result. Oh my gosh.
And he's the perfect person. He's the only horror director I know of that I would say has reinvented the genre like 3 different times. He started with Last House on the Left, which really kicked off, you know, that kind of exploitation era of film. Then came back again with A Nightmare on Elm Street, which just raised the slasher to a whole other level. Unfortunately, Nightmare on Elm Street was also the nail in the coffin because the whole idea of the slasher movie is that they were really cheap to make. And Nightmare on Elm Street was having these elaborate effects.
Yeah.
And so then to compete with that, they were no longer cheap to make. But hey, he fixed it because he got Scream. And then we got like the meta horror and the smart horror and this like slick, like it says on the poster, I think it says it's like slick and funny or something. So he you know, kind of brought this whole 90s era of horror, which
Yes.
I loved because it was very targeted towards teenagers. So
Yeah.
Selfishly, I was a teenager at the time. So I was like, these movies are about me. Because
Yeah.
so it was
pretty
awesome.
incredible.
It was
Well-
also awesome to see us horror fans reflected
Mhm.
in movies. I'd seen it a little bit, but not to this level.
And when you think about, it was almost like a match made in heaven between Kevin Williamson's story and Wes Craven, because remember, just a few years before this, he did Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which was a meta, slasher movie. So it was almost
Yeah.
like it was like kismet, like that they met, or they were paired up for this movie, and it shows in the final product. It's just it's fantastic. You know?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just brilliant, and we talked earlier about how being a perfect movie, and it was just, the direction, the execution, everything, even the sound, the score.
Yep.
I mean, all of the elements you look for, the cinematography, all these little elements. I mean, they're 10 out of 10. Just like
Yeah.
10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. It's right down the list. It's just really special, and as Gory alluded to earlier, Gory and I are doing this joint kind of scream fest together, which is so fun.
I like how you call it like a joint scream. It makes me think like a Spike Lee joint, like we're Wake
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, we'll think about that. But we're doing this unified.
Gory and Craven joint.
Yeah, exactly. And Wednesday night, we're going to be watching this again together. And what's amazing is every time I watch Scream, all of them actually, all the Wes Craven ones, they hold up. And they get better, if that's even possible. Every rewatch is like better and better and better. It's like, I hearken it like this. Like, imagine, and I'm not a car collector, not a car guy, but I know some people are, and it's a big deal. And they have their museum, their cars in a garage, and they're all on display, and they're shined up and glossy and polished. It's like every time you watch Scream, the shine gets shinier and shinier, and just like. It just looks better after every viewing. And anyway, it's a special film.
As an adult, it's also just such a great time capsule, even though so much of this, like especially Tatum's character, she's obviously such a big fan of the 70s. If you look at like her room and the way she dresses, and stuff, but that was part of the 90s too, just like how we have nostalgia now. I have lots of friends who were like 90s hippies and stuff. So like so much about this movie, like the little Bretts and stuff, it's just like it takes you back. And it was a time when becoming a pop culture nerd was starting to become a more regular thing. And so like this movie really I think it just hit at exactly the right time, because it was when people like, it wasn't just Trekkies who had conventions. Like it was becoming more of a thing. There was message boards online for like Buffy and stuff. So like there were places where fans were gathering on the internet, which was very new because it was a different time, guys. But it was just, I think it was just perfect timing. Like you said, Mav, kismet. And the legacy of this movie. So this movie did the impossible. It came out in December, 5 days before Christmas, which was really smart because it was not competing with any other horror movies. It was the only horror movie. And it did the really rare thing where every week afterwards, it did better, which means word of mouth is getting around. People are getting excited. This movie was in theater for the next 8 months.
Yes.
This movie did incredible. It was the 15th highest grossing movie of 1996. And to date, if you adjust for inflation, it is the 18th highest grossing movie. This movie didn't cost a whole lot to make, but it just raked it in because people would go see it, and people would go back and see it again and again and again too, tell their friends. And then of course there's the home video market. So yeah, this movie did a lot of really cool stuff.
As a $14 million budget. And it grossed 161 million in the box.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Right? So crazy.
And then Scream 2 was the same.
And I realize this is jumping to something that happens, with the current one that's about to come out. Given how much money this movie has made, this franchise has made, it's bonkers to me that we may not have Nev Campbell because of money. I'm like, y'all. Y'all.
I think
the
that's
irony,
right?
I do think because we'll talk about Nev in a little bit. Nev is not a horror fan. And sometimes I wonder if she's like, what did I get myself into? Because, that's, after this, she refused to do other horror movies aside from the Scream ones and stuff. So, but yeah, if she's going to do it, she wants it to be worth her while. She also knows what value she brings to this. So if they really want her, they need to give her a respectable offer. However, I will say, we're going to talk about Sidney a lot in these upcoming streams. The way her story ended in 3, I was like, perfect. Her arc is complete. And it was nice to see her in part 4. But honestly, they also, on top of giving her better money, they need to give her a better story.
Yeah.
She didn't have a lot to do in 5.
No.
Absolutely.
No, it was a token appearance is what it felt like.
She's a really interesting character. If they're going to bring her back, don't just give her the right amount of money, which I want that to happen for Nev. Give her a good story too. But what this movie did, and I'm trying to keep things positive and not even talk bad about their movies, but what this movie did is it did this impossible thing where you fall in love with every single character in this movie. That's so hard to do. A lot of times a movie like, the Army or Evil Dead franchise, like you love Ash, but in this movie, it's like, who don't you love?
Yeah.
Even the side characters you love. Like this movie is just endlessly quotable and entertaining and just even the killers you love. It's insane. I want to have a beer with Stu Macher and Billy Loomis. Like, I know they're dangerous, but
I even love Principal Henry too. I mean,
Principal Henry.
Principal Henry, come on! How can you not like him? The
or Fred, the janitor.
All these characters
That's right.
in detail. But first, we're going to talk about the opening scene, then we're going to go through a bunch of characters, and then we're going to talk about the ending. So we're not going to get too far into the ending. It will come up as we talk about some of these characters, but we'll get more in depth into the ooey gooey goriness of it all. Nice. But first, I think this is the most perfect opening of any movie ever.
You did quite well.
Yes.
It's great. You did a great job there. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. She has a white phone later on, guys. Or I did the best I can.
That's all right.
But yeah, this opening, it's so good. Let me find. There is a part in this, so you're watching this, and what I love about this movie, we'll talk about this a little bit more later on too, but Kevin Williamson, you can tell he's a big John Hughes fan, and what made John Hughes movies special is they had smart characters. Our didn't quite have smart characters yet, but he wanted those smart characters from John Hughes in a horror movie. Molly Ringwald ain't gonna take no shit. In fact, that's who he originally wanted for this film, but she was 27. She was like, I can't play high school anymore. But he loves John Hughes. And you can absolutely see that, not even just in the characters and the dialogue, but the colors. This is a vibrant high school movie that becomes a slasher movie. And I think it works so well because the characters in this movie, with the exception of a couple of them, you know who I'm talking about, don't want to be in a horror movie. They want to be in a John Hughes movie. It's almost like they were taken out of their world and put here. And I think one of my favorite parts in that opening is this moment right here that I'm going to show you, where Casey Becker realizes she's not in a John Hughes movie. She's in a Wes Craven movie.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
Because I want to know who I'm looking at.
What did you say?
So chilling.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I realized that was a nod to When a Stranger Calls. But I remember how that felt sitting there, because I didn't know anything about anything going into this movie, and thinking that it's a kind of creepy phone call. Your spider sense is tingling. Even as a 10-year-old, I was like, something's not right. Something's going to go south. What is it? But then and then you hear the piano, it just instantly gives you chills, like I can remember so well seeing how I felt watching this movie every time I watch it. And it's so well done. Like you said, it's got to be my favorite opening in a horror movie I've ever seen, easily.
Well, the way her face completely changes in that moment, which is also like getting an actress like Drew Barrymore to do that part, and someone who can pull off just this, like, oh, this is cute, this is kind of flirty, this is what. And that shift, like, I mean, like, I'm sure another actor, a more unknown actor, would have been fine, but having Drew Barrymore there, like, that elevates it right from the get-go.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
And
it's when
Drew Barrymore,
things
like I
became
said,
real.
she was cast as Sidney Prescott, which is why Wes Craven wanted to come on. And then she's like, crap, I have other obligations. She's doing Best Man. She's doing a lot of movies at this time. This is when she really was, after The Wedding Singer, her career really got on like a house on fire. And she's like, I can't do it. And then Wes Craven's like, well, shit, you're a big part of the reason I wanted this job. And she's like, no. I got this really cool idea. I want to play Casey Becker. I want to be that opening kill because no one's going to see it coming. It's going to be like Psycho. Obviously, Kevin Williamson likes Psycho. He named a character Loomis in this. So they're like, oh, that could actually really work. But it was her idea to switch that up. And they did such a good job. She's on all the freaking posters. All the magazines interviewed her. So it was a massive surprise. It wasn't like in the sequels where they kind of tried to do that with like Jada Pinkett and other people. And you're like, no, I know what's going to happen. It's like, Drew Barrymore's the star of this. What the? It's crazy. It's so crazy how well it worked out. She's wearing a much better one than mine, but she is wearing a wig because she was doing a movie called Best Ben, so her hair was black. But watch the special features if you can. She has so much fun in this part. She's like jumping up and down and stuff. It was actually challenging for Wes Craven because he's like, I need you to like really cry, and he knows she's an animal lover, and there were some horrible stories of animal abuse, like dogs being lit on fire and stuff, and he would just tell her like the lighter, Drew, and she would bawl. But I think she is so good because she does have that kind of Valley Girlness to her, but the moment it becomes a horror movie, you recognize her as like anybody she's just a girl in this really scary situation.
Yeah.
What else do you guys want to say about this opening scene or about, Casey or Drew or anything?
What always kills me is the moment where her parents get home. And she's
right here. You can see her in the background. It's like she's so close. It adds so much suspense.
And she's trying to talk and she can't get the words loud enough.
Yes.
And then when they realize something's wrong and they pick up the phone and can hear her on the other end, every time, I've seen this movie more times than I can count. And every time that moment just guts me.
Yeah. It's the so close yet so far feeling, like in any nightmare you've ever had, where it's like you're that far away from this being over. And
nightmare for the parent too, like you're
absolutely
your child.
When you watch it as a teenager, you're thinking of Casey, and now I watch it as a mother, and I'm like, can you imagine how horrible that would be? That's your worst nightmare. It's the worst torture to hear pain and not be able to do anything, not know where they are.
Yeah, it's just a helpless feeling. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. I just love how it was done, where he grabs her throat so she can't. Mom, that's all you can do. So they've already, Wes thought this whole thing through, and and then just the mother hearing her on the phone is just, it's like the final gut punch. Gosh, hearing like, oh my gosh, I can hear her. You feel that mother's. The mother did a great job.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
It's such a cruel game they play with her too. I always get a little frustrated with her because she's like, I don't want to play a game, and they're like, who's the killer in Halloween? She's like, Michael Myers. And then it's like, I don't know, it's like when you're gambling, you get one right. And she's a little too overzealous with the Friday the 13th one. Like, she knows it, but they're just, she's in a stressful situation, which sucks. But then the next question, which door am I at? When you watch it again and there's two killers, you're just like, that is so evil. It's like they say at the end, get it right, we kill you. Get it wrong, we kill you. It doesn't really matter. It's an evil game. It's just toying with people.
Toying with them, totally. And that's another thing too. You don't realize it when you're watching it because you don't know the dynamics in play. But when it's all over, you see how clearly Billy and Stu are both on site at her house. Yeah, you've got there's different theories. Personally, I think Billy's on the phone talking to her, and Stu is the one
in the house.
I was actually doing the setting up Stephen Orth. Doing all that.
Two of them to tie her up too.
To get her strung up
and that fast.
Correct. Yeah, it has to be both of them on site. Plus, you
This
can't.
scene here where you can see the steam coming off of her
Yes.
intestines.
That's such a beautiful touch.
I mean, that's Wes's attention to detail. I mean, you know, being mindful of every little thing and having the steam coming from the stomach. It's just wow. And I've got the original director's cut of this film, which is like forget about trying to find it. If it's ridiculous. It took me 20 something years to find it, and this scene is slowed. This whole part of the MPAA giving them an R rating after it took 9 reviews to get this movie rated R.
They
Wes
keep
had to
saying less
Yeah.
intense. I think they meant less intestines because that was a lot of what it took for me back to, like less of that. And that's where they cut it up a lot. You know, she did really hang there with the blood and stuff. And they also used a dummy. Though some of the dummies in the film, you know, I think it does work when you cut them down a little bit more because then it blends better with the actor.
Yeah.
So even though I know initially they didn't want to have to do those big dramatic cuts when they show the body, I think it works really well.
Well, and if you watch the original, it's the same shot we have here. It's just that they slowed the speed down. So basically, what they had to do is he had to accelerate the zoom into her body by I don't know, at least 10 times probably. The version that's on the original director's cut, it's much slower. So this is right that camera view right there. It just slowly goes up to her, and you're watching her click closer and closer and closer. He had to speed it way up to get it past. And then with Stephen Orth in the opening, the only difference there is instead of having, let's just say, the entrails, showing there exposed in the director's his original version, they are coming out. They're physically rolling out. You actually see them moving and dropping, and that's the original version he intended, versus just being out like we have now. But
and we'll talk about a lot more. Just auditioning for this film was really good because even if you didn't get the part you wanted, you probably got another part. The guy who plays Steve actually auditioned for Billy, and he got a really cool opening scene. Also, Wes Craven is the kind of director who he really listens to his actors and he listens to his audience. And he let a lot of the actors like ad lib and stuff. We'll get way into that when we talk about Matthew Lillard. But he also has really good ideas spur of the moment, and it was his idea for Casey to remove the mask. I think that's one of the more chilling parts because she has this look in her eyes, and you realize she knows who's killing her. Like, look at her face. She knows who that person is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
man.
Well, it sets up it sets up the whodunit angle very nicely too, because so many of the big franchises, you know, your Freddys, your Jasons, etc. It's this larger than life monster. There's not a mystery element to it, and there's plenty of slashers that have that mystery element, but I think that on top of everything else, these very fleshed out characters, again, elevated it to kind of a different level.
Right.
So you're saying it's elevated horror? I actually really hate that term because I think horror. I think
that
when
makes
you say
two of
something's
us.
elevated, you're saying other things are not.
Yeah,
Right.
It's the
Elevated. Maybe elevated isn't the right word, but I think it again.
No, I think it's great in your context. I don't like the
Yes.
modern context.
Yeah.
I like Kim's context of it.
Exactly.
Kim's bringing it back. She's taking it back for us.
I'm gonna reclaim the word. It's there for a reason.
I love it. I love. Also, someone asked me earlier what we're drinking. Kim, what are you drinking? I'm drinking Arrogant Bastard Ale.
I have my tea in one mug, and I have a Seattle cider in another.
Ooh, very nice.
Nice.
All right. So, of course, now we go from that, which is a real killer of an opening, and it does so much. You know, it's scary. We instantly are like involved in this. It gives us a bigger kill reveal than I think we've seen in some entire horror movies. Yeah. So you need a little bit of a break. And what this movie constantly does is the movie constantly reminds us that it's written by somebody who loves horror. Kevin Williamson loves horror. He is basically Randy. You know, even that Mackenzie's line, that's from Halloween. When she's holding her throat, it reminds me of Halloween 2 when Laurie's outside of the hospital. Clearly, we know we're in safe hands here. And then he brings us back to familiar territory by introducing us to Sidney Prescott. And we're like, oh, yeah, She's the final girl. She's got the
Mhm.
floral nightgown on. There's a teddy bear. She's smart. Look at her. She's on her computer. She's doing a good job. Her boyfriend's never snuck into her bedroom before. And so instantly our brains, if you watch her movies, we're like, all right, she's the final girl.
Yeah.
I get it now. I guess we were duped, but I'm not gonna be duped again. This role, like we said, originally went to Drew Barrymore. A lot of people were considered for it, though, after that part was reduced. Claire Danes and Reese Witherspoon turned it down because they didn't want to do horror. Holly Marion Combs from the
Charmed.
I read for it. Melissa Joan Hart read for it. Robin Tooney from The Crafted. Brittany Murphy addition to Alicia Witt from Urban Legends. Melanie Linsky. Chloe Sevigny. A lot of people considered it. And Neve Campbell, when it came to her, actually was gonna turn it down because she'd just done The Craft and she didn't want to get boxed into doing horror. She had just done one, but she did really enjoy working with Skeet on The Craft. And when she heard that he was cast, she was like, okay, I'll do it. That sounds good. So yeah, but she's not a horror movie fan, as Sidney says in the movie.
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
And I think what I love about Sidney is, we've talked about how some of these people are inserts for the audience. Sidney is an insert for a non-horror audience. That audience is like the audience that gave up on slashers because there were too many sequels. They were like, they're all the same. It's always people making stupid decisions. And Sidney is kind of speaking for them. But she also, like with everything in this movie, subverts that because she says, running up the stairs when she's going out the front door, the very next scene, she does exactly that, which is kind of saying to the audience, okay, we see you, we hear you, but would you really do a better job in this situation?
Yeah.
I've got an actual story that can speak to that. So shortly after seeing this movie, my brother had a friend that he was one of the guys, he was a chain smoker and he would light his next cigarette with his current cigarette. And he had a real deep, raspy, like angry voice, even when he was just talking nicely. They pranked me. They did this. I would say it was probably within a month after seeing this movie. I was home alone. I got a phone call on the landline and my brother's friend did this. And I panicked. I had a little dog. I had the phone in my hand and I grabbed a kitchen knife and I didn't run up the stairs. I did avoid that, but I was so panicked. I ran to the backyard instead of the front yard. So and then that's when I found them we had like a little half basketball court in our backyard where they were hiding in the dark, laughing hysterically. But I was like one of those moments where I had the realization that it's a lot easier said than done when you're under stress that you think, and Sidney does exactly what she says. She makes fun of the people that run up the stairs. And what does she do? And it happened to me. And granted, I was 10, I was young and I was dumb. Not that I'm much smarter now. In fact, I might have regressed since I was 10, but I did do that same thing. I ran to the backyard where I'm literally fenced in, I'm trapped. So it's funny because it's easy to Monday morning quarterback these movies after you watch them and go, you idiot, go out, we see that in Scream 2 in the opening with Jada Pinkett Smith. You idiot, why are you doing that? But yeah, it's hilarious that even I had a taste of my own medicine of all the funny, talking crap, and I did the same damn thing. Is hilarious.
Well, it's something real quick, Mav, just to piggyback. In my counseling background and it applies to this, is that adrenaline and fear leave little room for logic.
Yep.
And that is so true in real life situations. And so what you're saying is 100% correct. Because when we're on our couches or at home or in the theater, we are at zero risk factor. We're 100% secure. And we're judging these people and what they would do or what we would do. But that is not, it's a whole different ball game when you're on the other end of that phone. It's happening to you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's true. Your adrenaline's flying. Your fear factor's up through the roof.
Yep.
Logic, there's a very small room in your brain for logic at that point. You're going off instinct. And
Oh, yeah.
going.
And it wasn't a playful Ghostface phone call. It was the what's your favorite scary movie, and then it started getting into really kind of, like I said, there's pros and cons to having older brothers. The pro was getting to see this movie in theater. The con was when, like 3 weeks later they decided to do that to me and scared the, like it scared the hell out of me, and I panicked and I ran right to them. Essentially, if they were really trying to hurt me, I would have ran right into their arms like an idiot.
Oh man.
Well, it's the TikTok videos they've been doing with the someone dressed up as Michael Myers and the person is running to try to open the door before he Michael Myers walks to it, and how many people the panic is getting him, and they're just like crap, and he catches up with them, and it's the fight or flight is it crashes a little bit too much in our brain.
So I think a lot of what makes Sidney, I mean, to me, Sidney is my favorite final girl. Is she high for you guys, or is she your favorite?
She's my number one.
My number one.
She is my number one. And a big part of it is Sidney is one of the only ones I can think of where she to this day still survives. And I hope they keep it that way, because I feel like Sidney is a great role model for anybody who's been through trauma, anybody who's been attacked in real life or any other kind of trauma. She tells you that does not need to define your life. You have horror movie things happen to you. You can refuse to be a horror movie character. You can have that happy ending, have the job you want, travel, get married, whatever it is you want. You still can have all those things. The bad thing that happened to you doesn't get to determine what your genre is. And that's what Sidney does. She gets to find her own happy ending. And a lot of these movies, they make it to maybe the sequel or something, and then they get killed off. But I like that Sidney ultimately finds the genre that she wants. I think she part of what makes her so good is she's a good amalgamation of a lot of different characteristics. I think you need to be a great final girl. As you can see, she has a mean right hook. She's tough.
So, how's the book? Well, it'll be out later this year.
Oh, I'll look for it.
I'll send you a copy.
Bam! Bitch went down. Bam! Sid, super bitch. She's tough. She doesn't put up with anything, but she does, especially in this first movie. She has that vulnerability. We definitely feel for her. We know she's already feels like an outsider because she's lost her mother. She's got a lot of pain. She's trying to do the normal high school thing, but she is very vulnerable. And she's also very innocent. At this point, she still believes that her mom was like this perfect mom. She didn't know anything about her mom's private life. She trusts her boyfriend.
You rarely do too. So
she trusts her boyfriend. She trusts her friends, and we never see this Sidney again. That is only this movie. You see her in part 2. She's already like, probably my boyfriend's doing it. She's a much more jaded character. She has a really interesting arc. But even here, when she is her most, ingenue and in some ways naive, I think she is very strong. Why do you guys think she's such a great final girl?
Well, I think to your point, like going into this movie, she's already experienced trauma with her mom's death the year before. And there's a groundedness to her. But there's even as this, being naive and innocent as she is in this first one, she's grounded, she's smart, she thinks through things, and is still vulnerable and open, and I like that, even though it doesn't turn out great for her, like she tries to she gets it on with her boyfriend because she's like, I want to be more emotionally available, and oops, that was a bad idea, but but the desire was there. And I think you see that throughout all the movies, that even though she's somebody who just consistently experiences loss and trauma over and over and over again, she keeps moving forward, she keeps living. And I think that's also one of the joys of having her in all of the movies, as like you said, getting to see that and getting to see her just continually survive and thrive through it all. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I guess to not repeat everything that you said, she's vulnerable, but she doesn't have a victim mentality. You know,
Yeah.
like at no point in time, as much awful stuff has happened to her, she kind of takes them on the chin and just keeps moving forward. She's kind of like Rocky, you know, the whole mentality from the Rocky movies is like, it's not how hard you get up, it's, you know, if you I'm going to butcher the line, but it's not how hard you get hit, it's how you keep moving forward, get up off the ground and keep moving forward. That's kind of how she is, you know, like even after being attacked, she's still, you know, very much like I'm not going to take your shit. And you don't see her ever. I can't think of any time really where she stops to feel sorry for herself in any of the movies, you know? So I think that's what it is like she's vulnerable. She's had a lot of awful stuff happen to her, but she doesn't have a victim mentality. You know, she's like, I'm not going to let this be my, you know, this isn't going to stop me. This isn't going to take my life. This ain't going to take me away from, you know, now her kids, but from going to college or, you know, moving on with her life. So I think that's the charm of Sidney.
She also, I mean, like, she's such a fully fleshed out character. She's not just the, you know, smart virgin girl. There's a lot of things going on with her character, and she's very three-dimensional in a way that I think a lot of the final girls are not always given, like, they're not given that much character. Right. We talked about, like, all the characters in this film are so memorable and so interesting. She feels so real. She feels like, when I first saw this movie and I was a teenager, I was like, I feel like she's a teenager with me. I can relate to her, even though I've never had somebody chasing me around with a butcher knife. Like,
but just little things like how she rides the bus. Like, I rode the bus. It was nice to see another teenager ride the bus.
Right.
Yes. There's just all these little things where it just felt so real and it was so smart. And I not to use the word elevated again, but there was genuine attention and care put into the creation of these characters. And having an actress like Neve Campbell, who I mean, again, at that point, Party of Five is what I was thinking for her, but I think she like her time on this, like, kind of teen drama or whatever was actually setting her up very nicely to do a movie like this.
And that's a lot of what made them interested in her for this part, because they saw so much of her range from Party of Five.
Yeah.
Right.
Craven, I know you love Sidney. What about her do you think makes her the best final girl?
I mean, it's all the things everyone said. I always felt the thing about her is that there's a relatability to her that is there. It's the same relatability I felt with Jamie Lee Curtis in 78, with Halloween 78. When you watch Halloween 78, there's a relatability. She's just a real normal person like I am, like we are, you know, and to a degree. And Sidney is that way. She's very relatable. But what I love about her is that she's strong. She's got an inner strength in her, and you see it. I mean, her dad's gone. She's by herself, and she's at the police station, and she is, you know, you can tell she's very upset, but you never feel like she's caving under the pressure. There's always this substance, there's foundation that she's standing on. It's very strong. And even when she's at Tatum's house, remember, and she's, you know, laying in the other bed and they're talking, and she could have had someone, you know, go to voicemail, but she's like, no, I'll go get the phone. And, you know, she hears the voice, here's Ghostface, but never at one time did I ever feel like she was giving in to the pressure that she was under. And I love that about her, right? You know, is that there's a strength there, but she's also she allows herself to be vulnerable as a character and be transparent. To see her talking to Tatum on the porch about her mom, you know, And is her mom really who she thought she was? Maybe she's not, you know. And to see her look at the picture of her mom, you know, there, and to have that moment, those were all to me so great. And she kept that going in her arc. I know we're not going to talk about the sequels right now, but I think the whole arc for her, as it was written, it just continued to grow on that, and you literally could see her grow and change every movie, and in a good way, like, you know, in a way that she gets stronger, to the point where we get to 4, and Olivia's getting butchered next door, and she just runs over there. She doesn't have a weapon. She is not scared at all. She is like on a mission, and so it's just really cool how well, you know, her character has been written in this franchise. And that's why I agree with what we said earlier. Like, you know, 5, it felt like almost, hey, you know what? We're doing a tribute movie for Wes. So we want everyone here. But they could have given her so much. I mean, she could have taken over at that movie and just dominated it. But they really put her on the sidelines.
Yeah,
so,
they could have explored where her life is now and how she's trying to be a mom and stuff. But
yeah,
it was really just a glorified cameo, and
It
that really
was.
is a bummer because the character deserves better. So
it does.
yeah, I'm not just gonna leave it at give her more money. I give her more story.
More
Otherwise,
story.
let her be. Nev Campbell doesn't really like doing horror, so make it worth her while.
Yes, Scream 7, baby. Hashtag Sydney and Scream 7. Let's go.
I think something else about Sydney I want to say is I think with our heroes, you know, like John McClane from Die Hard and all these other great heroes, Rocky and Rambo, both still on. There's a bit of wish fulfillment. They're able to do things we can't do. And I love that Sydney is so grounded, but she does things where I'm like, oh, you know, when someone says just the shittiest thing to you, you wish you punched them.
Yep.
Sydney does it. And we have a very similar scene with Sydney and what Casey did, you know, and Sydney, one, is not putting up with any bullshit, but her reaction, let's look at her reaction to when she realizes it's a horror movie compared to what Casey did.
Bye now.
If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother. Do you want to die, Sydney?
Like, she's scared, but she's also angry.
Yeah, she's pissed.
You can tell she's gonna fight. She's not just gonna hide by the TV. You know, I think Casey's a really great character too, but we know that, okay, this girl might be able to actually handle this person. We also know right away this person knows her.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, a lot of people could hear that stuff from her about her mom on TV and stuff, but you know, this is somebody who is really going to get at her. That she's the target. So we're gonna talk about some more characters because I know there's some more characters you guys want to talk about, but I really want to talk about the mystery. Because the other great thing about Scream, like you guys mentioned, it's a really cool whodunit and it's a mystery. And I think it's really cool how in the beginning, like Tatum's like, since it's the worst crime since, well, you know, a lot of people are kind of sidestepping over saying her mom died. And so when you watch her for the first time, you're like, but what?
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
We don't find out until Sydney comes home from school and then she sees this news broadcast.
That's
Stupid.
about her mother, and we realize, oh, okay, you know, there's and you wonder, like, is this part of the mystery? How's this all connecting? And they did such a great job because it does all connect. Nothing is by accident. These are little breadcrumbs leading us to this really cool ending. This is also Lynn McRae here, which I really love that this franchise does a good job of when they bring back characters, they get the same actors.
Yeah.
She is in part 3. And Craven has interviewed her on his channel, which is really cool.
Yes.
So setting up this mystery, what do you think works so well about this?
Well, I mean, anytime you've got a brutal murder, I'm interested. That's like
right.
it is. But I also think having that tied to then Gale and her connection, and I love that scene between the two of them. I think this is after she's, you know, bam, bitch goes down, where they're talking about Cotton and they're talking about what happened. And it's one of those moments you really see how young Sydney is, because she, you know, no, my mother wasn't having an affair. You know, he raped her and I saw him leave, and
She'd
Gale
rather think her mom was raped than her mom was having an affair. Multiple affairs.
And that's such a teenager. Like that's such a our parents are you know, we might get mad at them for doing parent things, but they're still these people in our minds who are you know,
well, our
better
parents
and
teach us our values, and we know from watching this movie, Sydney has this value of, you know, waiting, not necessarily till marriage, but she is waiting until she is ready to have sex. She is taking it very serious, and having a sexual relationship with somebody is something that's very serious to her. And so that's obviously something she's learned about from her parents. She does say, like, you know, my dad catches you in here, he's going to kill you. And so, you know, to find out that those values your parents instilled in you, that they're not actually like following those in their life, it's like you feel a little betrayed.
Well, and she's close to her dad too, so it's that double thing. It's not just on values, it's that her and her dad are very close. She loves her dad, and it's also now the memory of her mother. So it's anytime somebody's died, you have a hard time
glorify them.
remembering.
You make them almost like angels.
And so even the suggestion that something was going on and hearing other people make references to it, like it was obviously something that people knew, but she doesn't want to believe it because again, she's human and she's a kid. So I like that we have that as that undercurrent, and you have Gale who is connected to the mystery of the mom, connected to Sidney because of the mom, but also covering these and the contrast too. I know we're going to talk more about Gale later, but I love that as another character who's surviving the franchise. I like that Gale's kind of a bitch at times because it's so nice to have another final woman, because Gale is obviously, you know, older in the first movie, but somebody who isn't just this paragon of virtue or just like, she's cutthroat and she makes bad decisions and she can be kind of a bitch, but we love her.
It's kind of like what Fairpoint Station's saying here too. Like we have this idea in our heads where our parents have to be these perfect people, you know, and that's not realistic. That's a lot of pressure to put on anybody. I feel like it comments on us as fans, how we put our final girls. They can't drink, they can't smoke, they can't have sex, they have to be perfect. And it kind of sets us up because, you know, Sydney's like, I don't want to be like my mom. Sydney is a human being. By the end of this movie, she has had sex. She has had beer. You know, she can do that and still be a great person. And I think that's kind of our introduction to this. And that's what Sydney ultimately grapples with. You know, my mom had all these affairs. My mom was involved in these shady things. Is my mom still a good person? Is she still a good mom? And I think ultimately Sydney comes to the conclusion, she loved me.
It's the value we place on those things. And again, as horror fans, the values we place on the teenagers in slasher films, that like if you have sex you're bad, if you drink or do drugs you're bad, and I think that's all reflected there, to your point.
Well, I love the line. I was just gonna say, I love the line where I think it's Tatum that says it, that says, you know who she was to you.
Yes.
And it's a powerful line because we could grow up, in this case we're talking about a mother and a daughter. You know, you could grow up in a situation where maybe a parent is not doing the right things in life. Maybe they're making bad choices. Maybe they're into things they shouldn't be into, but they love you as you know, as a child. They're taking care of you and they're doing what they can for you. Well, just because this person you find out maybe in life later on, or maybe you know about the whole time, they're involved in stuff they shouldn't do. You should never let that change who they are to you. To you, they were your mom.
Yeah.
Who loved you.
She wasn't a good wife, but she was a good mom.
She was a good mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not one thing. Like you can but make bad choices and still be a good person. Like that doesn't. This
also doesn't mean that she didn't love Sydney's dad. People are complicated and messy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, Philip's saying that was Kincaid said that in Scream 3. Okay, there you go. Yeah, that's whenever it was. Yeah, I think it was Scream 3 now as you mentioned it. I love that line, and every time I hear it when I watch that movie, it resonates. It's like it's words of wisdom, you know. Yeah.
Very good. I'm really glad you pulled it out. So now we're covering a lot of ground here. I'm so glad you guys are hanging out with me and sticking with me because this is a big one. One of my favorite characters and one of my favorite villains of all time is Billy Loomis. He is part of this great Loomis lineage. There's Loomis from Halloween, the original Loomis from Psycho, and now Billy Loomis. And they are all terrific characters. Billy does have my favorite horror movie quote of all time.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
I love Billy because, and I think we forget about this so much because he gets a little overshadowed by Randy, but he is a horror movie nerd.
Oh yeah.
And it really plays into his psyche and it makes him so fascinating in a way that I don't think any of even the other ghost faces are.
Yeah.
Billy is more strict with these rules than even Randy. I don't ever see Billy with a beer in this movie because Billy knows. Billy is afraid of the rules. Randy knows what the rules are. They apply to horror movies. Randy also gets himself killed, just saying. But afraid of them. And I've said this a long time. I've talked about this with Craven. The reason I think he wants to have sex with Sid has nothing to do with Sidney. It's because he is committing these murders and he knows the only thing that can stop somebody who's a murderer is a final girl. Final girls are virgins. If she is not a virgin, she cannot stop him.
Yeah.
So he has to have sex with her. And he's running out of time. That's why he keeps pushing it because he's like, it's almost the anniversary. I have to have sex with her. Otherwise, she can stop us. She can ruin everything that we spent over a year planning. He really believes this. And I think that's what makes him just so fascinating.
Yeah.
You were the first person I heard point that out, Gory. And it really, like, when you said that, it made everything make sense. That, like, I had never put those two things together. And but it is true. I mean, that is what we see throughout the movie, him pushing or just kind of nudging, just trying to get in her pants the entire movie. No regard for the fact that she was just attacked. He even makes the comment, that was a year ago when she was talking about her mother being murdered. Like, no, he's completely oblivious to, it was just a year ago a year ago that her mother was murdered. Of course. Yeah. She should be over it.
He planned this. And so he's like, okay, so we're going to kill her mom. She's going to be a little frigid for a bit, but I still think, I can see him talking to Stu and Rowan, saying, by then she'll kind of warm back up. We can have sex. I can have sex with her. Hopefully towards the end of the school year before this, it's all going to work out great. I can see this Billy conversation. I think that is why I love him. And if you forget, that the movie reminds us at the end. The movie knows what it's doing. It reminds us at the end that he is a horror movie fan.
Stu's flipped out. He's gone mad.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Quoting the movies, talking about the corn syrup. Also, I really want you guys to jump in this conversation too, but I did grab a few clips just in case you guys are on the fence. Like, I don't know what Gory's saying. Gory's full of nonsense and cheese whiz. That is true. But I have thought a lot about this theory about Billy having to de-virginize her to de-arm her because he is having sex, guys. All right, he made Sam. He's having sex. For one, the way he talks about it, how it's a game. It's a game that she loses.
Fuck you.
No. We already played that game, remember? You lost.
It's not a fun thing that they're doing together. It's not a pleasurable thing. It's a game.
Yeah.
He needs to beat her ultimately, or she will beat him. When the movie keeps reminding us what happens when you have sex.
You gave it up. Now you're no longer a virgin. Dead virgin. Now you gotta die. Those are the rules.
And during the scene when she's having sex, just in case we still didn't get it, Randy reminds us.
Jamie Lee was always the virgin in horror movies. That's why she always outsmarted the killer in the big chase scene at the end. Only virgins can do that.
Only virgins can do that, guys. All right. So that's my theory. You guys don't have to agree with me. But that's what to me makes Billy interesting. There's so many other things that make Billy interesting. Guys, jump on him here. What is it about him that you think made him so iconic?
I mean, I always appreciated that he seemed like they kind of lean into the whole like it's too obvious a choice. His behavior seems too obvious and at times almost too over the top. that you're like, but wait, no, nobody's gonna be laying it on this thick and then actually be the killer. This has got to be a red herring, and then you think so because he dies or he gets stabbed. So you're like, okay, it must not be him, But I like that he's played like believably heavy-handed, if that makes sense. Like there's just something about him that even when he's being sincere, I'm like,
see, okay, when I watched this is why I think this first movie is so genius. I love all of them, but there's something genius about this one. This is the only one where I didn't guess at least one of the killers. And it's because I'd seen a dozen freaking movies, and the obvious guy, the boyfriend who everyone keeps saying he's the killer, they're never the killer.
Right.
They never are. And then they show that he dies and other things, like he couldn't have possibly made the phone call. Like they're really pushing this. And when a horror movie pushes it that hard, that person is always innocent. So I'm looking at Randy, I'm looking at Stu, I'm looking at all these other people. But I remember saying it to my friend. I was like, there is no way in hell he did it. No way. He's also just super fucking creepy. He was actually cast because they thought he looked a little bit like Johnny Depp from A Nightmare on Elm Street. And there's a lot of other people who are considered, like Ben Affleck and Leonardo DiCaprio and Joaquin Phoenix, who turned it down. Freddie Prinze Jr. auditioned, and that was actually Kevin Williamson's, I guess, one he wanted. Justin Whalen from Child's Play 3 auditioned. Leonardo DiCaprio read with Holly Marie Combs, and even David Arquette was offered the part, which he turned down because he wanted Dewey.
Yeah, which was a good. I mean, that fit him much better. I don't know. See, for me, it's like Skeet Ulrich just always looks mildly skeevy to me, but in a way that's appealing, if that makes sense.
He's very greasy. Yeah, very greasy.
But I'm not angry about it. I'm
Maveryk. You did it.
That's it. Yeah.
I think the other thing that he was so iconic, I guess, for me, is he in as far as I can remember, is the up and 96 and before that was the only guy who did his homework. He wasn't inherently bad, right? He wasn't Michael. He wasn't born evil. It was a circumstance or a series of events that turned him from what we know or what we can assume is just your average suburban, white or maybe mixed, I don't know what he is, white dude, who's going about his business. His mom leaves him and he resorts to something that he enjoys, which is horror movies. But instead of using it to help him get over the bad times, he uses it and he studies it. And he, like they say, watch a few movies, take a few notes. It was fun. He used everything that he could learn from 96 and before in horror movies to become this killer. And I think that is what, for me, made him so iconic, is that he was the only one that I could remember that actually was like, I'm going to study to become this person. I must study to execute, exact my revenge and get all my frustrations out. I'm going to study the horror movies and let them inspire me to be this person. So that was something that was unique for the time,
Yeah, and he did that in real life. I mean, I remember him talking about his prep work for this movie and how at the hotel they stayed at, he had 2 rooms, and he had one room that was Billy Loomis's room, and then he had Skeet Ulrich's room. They connected, and when he would go into Billy Loomis's room, he wasn't Skeet. He was in character, and he put black lights up in the room, posters. He watched like serial killer documentaries.
Of course,
he went method.
He was totally going method in there, and he would go in there to prepare and become Billy for shooting, and then when he wanted to rest, actually sleep, he would go into his room as Skeet, and he was Skeet in that room, and he could just unwind and not be that character. But he did that on purpose the entire shoot. So when they were out there for the whole scene 118, 3 weeks at the Stu Macher house. 3 weeks they shot that whole final act. It's 7 nights a week, no days off. 7 nights a week, 3 straight weeks. And it's like 6 p.m. Show up, off at 6 a.m. 12-hour shoots. And it was like, of course, there's legendary stories about going off to David Arquette and having all the booze, and they were going off and partying and stuff. But it's interesting how much Skeet Ulrich put into that role to be Billy Loomis.
Also, I'm sure you know about this, the fact that he initially didn't know it was supposed to be a horror comedy or satire.
Oh, really?
Do you want to talk about that?
You talking about Billy Loomis didn't know? I mean, Skeet didn't know?
Well, Skeet, I'll go ahead. Skeet Ulrich, he thought this was supposed to be a more serious movie about two high school killers. And so when they're doing the scene at the fountain and he sees Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy, he's like, you guys are like, guys, tone it down. You guys are ruining the movie. Like, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. And then later on, he was like, oh, okay. He just didn't get it, but he never even played his character like that through the whole way through. Even after he did realize it was a horror comedy, he always treated it like Billy Loomis is in this very serious killer movie.
Very much. Yeah. He never cracked a joke. He was always in this
very severe,
yeah. He wanted to model himself after real serial killers and how they behave. Yeah, and every look he has is like that.
Right.
It's so intense.
Very intense. Yeah.
Yeah, throughout the whole movie, and which is great because it leans into, like you said earlier, I think, Kim, they're wanting us to believe it's him. Like they're wanting, they're painting us such a vivid picture. He's the villain, the antagonist, that we don't want to believe it because it can't be him.
Yeah.
And then the most brilliant thing, I know I'm probably jumping ahead. I was almost parked there long, but the most brilliant move of the movie to me, well, there's two, but the first one was the fake out. The fake stabbing was just because I mean, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, see, it wasn't Billy. Darn it.
Yeah, when I saw that, I felt vindicated because like, there's no way he's the killer. It's too obvious to be a really boring movie.
Right.
Who's the killer?
Yes, so we thought. And
I mean, I was like, this is too well. And I was thinking in my head, it's too smartly written. It's been too well crafted up until this point for them to give us the most obvious killer. Like I already trust these people to give me something surprising.
Absolutely,
it would have been surprising.
Yes, it was.
I actually, I had all these ideas, like especially when Tatum's like, it could be a woman. I'm like, oh wow, what if it's going to be Tatum? I was thinking of all these surprising things, and Billy was not even remotely considered for me.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But that's what's so smart about it is it really played the horror fan because I think a lot of us were like, yeah, I've seen this movie. It's not him.
Right.
Well, and like, let's face it, horror fans, we can get a little cocky about that too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like I know all the beats of this. I see exactly what's coming.
Yep.
And I love when you have a director who knows the genre, who can come in and be like, this is a challenge, hold my beer. Yeah, because again, we can be a certain way. We can be a certain way.
I agree. Moving on, let's talk about Tatum Riley. She's only in this movie. Honestly, Tatum ties into my only complaint with the movie is at the end of it. I was like, why didn't anyone ask about poor Tatum? I actually heard Rose McGowan mentioned. I'm like, oh, you're right. Nobody did care. But granted, they're also really traumatized. So mild complaint. But Tatum is an important character. As we see here, she is the person who gives the killer the name that has lasted for all these movies.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
She is absolutely like this iconic girl in the movie who's like the bad girl, who's a little like more of a party girl. But again, even with Tatum, they're subverting expectations because Tatum is a very good friend.
Oh yeah.
He is with Sidney for everything. Everything Sidney does is the coolest. She doesn't want to hurt Sidney's feelings. Like she is a really good friend to Sidney. She doesn't want Billy there because it's going to upset Sidney, not because she gives a shit, because she's looking out for Sidney. She is a great friend. Even when her boyfriend's under attack from Randy, she was like, no, he was with me. Like she is very fiercely loyal to the people that she cares about. Rose McGowan lobbied really hard for this part and she got it, though she was considered after Melinda Clarke and Rebecca Gayheart turned it down. And Rose McGowan still says this was her favorite filming experience of her career. She loved being in this movie. I think that's awesome that she kind of revamped this iconic character, especially because we think of Scream Queens, like these big-breasted girls. And obviously Tatum in this movie is kind of that sex appeal character.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Rose
Yep.
McGowan actually can't scream. You can see that. I didn't get the clip of it. When they cut her arse, she's like, she squeaks.
Yeah.
She squeaks. She doesn't scream, but in more ways than one, she is subverting this idea of this character. And I'm sure, Craven, you have some behind the scenes information about her iconic death in the movie.
Oh yeah, so it's so great. So Wes was like, we want you to go through this door here, and so the problem is that she was small enough that once she got her chest through the door there, she actually could get out.
Yeah, you can see.
Yeah, you could see like right there, even you could tell, and so they shot it a few times. And she kept falling out. Like they would raise her up, but she couldn't. So what they ended up having to do, they had to actually staple her shirt to the frame of the doggy door, and yeah, they had to staple it in so that whenever they raised her up, she would stay put and spot. And she said, what was funny thing is though, she said, I never realized I could actually fit through that. I never think I could. After she filmed this movie. She said she has one of those doors at her house or where she stayed at. She said, so if I ever get stuck in a position where there's someone in the house, I can actually get out through the door. But yeah, they had to staple her. Wes is like, staple her up. So JP Jones, the prop master, stapled her to the door, the shirt to the door.
I will say that's one thing that does kind of bug me when I watch it, is that I never buy her being stuck. It never looked, because I'm always just like, girl, you could get in, you could get out. Like if you can't get in, then you'd pull back out. There was that scene for me it always looks like she could still have maneuvered her way in or out. The angle, especially when they do from behind, where you're like, you've got so much room.
I like to think it's because he's raising it. It makes it a lot harder because he raises it pretty quickly.
But yeah, no, that's the only scene I'm ever kind of like you could have at least like made it smaller somehow, or made it stick or something where it
added her bra more.
Yeah.
Well, I like to choose to. I suspend disbelief a little bit because
I do too.
I just let it. I'm like, you know what? It's a horror movie.
It's that fight or flight thing. When we're in situations like that, we doubt ourselves.
True.
And she is just a teenage girl. She is not Rambo.
17, right? She's a 17-year-old kid.
Even though she's only in this movie, I think she is so lovable. Even when she's given Dewey so much shit, she's so mean to her brother.
Right.
I just love her. I think my favorite part is like right after the scene where Sidney punches Gale. She's like, "Bam, Sid, super bitch." Like, she is such a great friend. I think everyone wants that character in their corner.
And then she's late, and they try to make her a little bit of a red herring there as well. Like whenever she shows up after the attack at the house, she pulls up and like, oh, where was she at? She ran late in videos.
I was suspecting her pretty hard when I first saw this, especially after she made that comment. She's like, basic instinct,
That's right.
But the upper body strength thing to lift the body to the tree was legit.
True.
Yeah. I just kept thinking she might have figured out something else,
Yeah. Well, now, no, and of course, we didn't know it initially, but looking back, knowing there's two people like her and Billy.
Absolutely.
And this is the only Scream movie where there are two men as the killers. Most of them have a woman and a man.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Including Scream 3, Angelina and Roman. That's one I thought in there.
Oh, yeah.
Is the second killer.
And of course, I can't remember who is her boyfriend, Craven?
Oh, that would be one Stu Macher.
Exactly.
Because he was in the house.
Yeah. You are the biggest Stu Macher fan I know. And I think I want to take this opportunity to ask you, what is it about Stu? Why do you love him? He's a bad guy.
He is bad in the bestest way possible, other than his serial killing tendencies. He's amazing. He is the guy you want to have over as the life of the party. He's that one guy that can electrify a whole group of people, and he has this natural charisma that you just gravitate towards him, and he has such confidence on display, and the way that he carries himself is very, very charismatic and very. I'm telling you right now, he's got, dare I say, cult leader like qualities about him that I could see him as a late 40s, leading people and manipulating people into doing his bidding. But that's for another day. But Stu Macher is a great character. He is talking about loyal to his best friend, loyal to the point of murder, So he's Billy's his guy, it's his best friend. You can also tell that he's from a very wealthy family based on the house, location, the boat, all that stuff adds up. And that's his birthday weekend, by the way, that we have there. That's his note on the wall that says.
I think that's why he's so loyal to Billy. You will go to the end of the earth for the person who sees you when you're invisible. And the people who matter the most to him, his parents, he is invisible. Nobody at school, I think, really knows him. And the fact that he has his friend who does really know him and who is there for him, I think that's why he would do anything for him.
Yes. Yeah. And let's also remember too that people always throw around this whole comment, like a lot of times about Stu just being a lapdog, or his Stu was just doing whatever Billy told him. And I always come back a little and challenge that a little bit and say, well, he may have did the plan with Billy, but Stu killed because he was fun. He was a real killer. Remember that scene, even in 6, he's like, watch a few movies,
take a few notes.
I also feel like, how some people can give you ideas and they make you think that you came up with it. They killed 2 of his girlfriends in this. Casey Becker was his ex-girlfriend. Billy has no interest in that. And Tatum.
Yeah.
And he makes a big fuss about that later on. My Tatum, all this stuff, like, that was his idea.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those were both his idea.
Yeah.
No question.
A
So
little behind the scenes information. Arquette was considered for this part before he, ultimately decided on Dewey. They wanted him, they just didn't know where to put him. And Lillard was considered for the role of Billy. And Williamson actually admits, like, one of the things he regretted is he said he really underwrote the part of Stu, and he credits this character being so memorable to Matthew Lillard. A lot of our favorite lines in this movie, Matthew Lillard ad-libbed. Did
you really call the police?
You're sorry ass.
My mom and dad are gonna be
this part where Billy actually does Skeet really hits him with the damn bone, and he's a great character.
Yep.
Boy.
Fucking hit me with the phone, Dick!
Yes. And it wasn't supposed to hit him. It was just supposed to throw it with the phone down. And it hit him.
He stays in there.
He stays in character, yeah. And Wes loved it. Wes said it was great.
It's so brilliant. It goes back to just everything falling into place perfectly for this movie. Even the accidents worked out so well.
Well, the poor accident on Billy. I mean, whenever
where
Sidney gets him in his scar tissue.
And
it's like, that's his actual scream. He's like, that's his real reaction to pain. And Wes said, it's perfect. Keep it.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to reshoot it. They kept it. Man.
Another one that I know Craven quotes a lot. If you missed it, we actually did a whole trial for Stu Macher that I was a part of. You wouldn't recognize me. I was Gory B Withers. But we did a trial on why Stu might be alive. And this is a quote we heard a lot.
Yeah, I'm ready, baby! Tonight! Get up!
Yeah, buddy.
No, you love that one.
Yes. Get it up.
Get it up.
I mean.
And another one of my favorites.
I'm feeling woozy, yeah.
I think that's the one I quote the most in my day-to-day life.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It's just brilliant. That whole kitchen sequence is the gold. Everything is gold. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, this is when he does that. Yeah.
Your mother was no Sharon
Stone.
I I think he could have, the way he's written, if you just look at the black and white of it, take out the ad libs and stuff, he could have so easily been like the pretty popular boy, like a very Freddie Prinze Jr., she's all that kind of character. He could have been even a jockish type character, but he gives him, Matthew Lillard gives him this manic energy. In fact, he says, you know, because he's directed movies now, he says, looking back on that, I would have, as a director, been like, guys, take it down. You're like 58% over, you know. And he's like, we were just chewing the scenery, and they let us do it, and it was absolutely, it worked for the movie. Like this scene here, he's so into it, he's literally spitting on himself.
Oh, this
Let's face it, baby. These days, you gotta have a sequel.
I
like
love that.
The passion, guys.
It's like a theater actor when you're in the front row and you just see it all coming out.
And I think, I was gonna say, I think that what makes him so scary is that he's having so much fun. There's no panic. I mean, eventually some panic sets in, you know, as we get closer towards the end of the movie, but it's just a blast. He's having the time of his life, taking people's lives, you know, like it's scary, but it's also insanely entertaining when it's a fiction, it's a movie, but it's so just his decisions, you know, Wes's decision to let this play out the way that it did, but his decision to take it to, you know, 11 was just, it was so awesome. It worked so well.
And I like to think of it a lot of times as like a buddy movie. You know, he has his buddy, and this is what they do for fun together. You know, me and Kim, we go to CryptoCon. These guys kill people.
Everyone's got to have hobbies.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments actually is I love the scene between him and Randy in the video store where I think you're talking about like, oh, you know, do you think I have a chance with Sid or whatever? And he does this big physical reaction and then just deadpans the no,
I don't at all.
No, I don't at all. Yeah, that's right.
Because we see him so big so much of the time, and then that one moment where he's like, no,
he knows how to play it perfectly.
Yes.
He really, really does.
Wow, it's so good. To think how young he was. He's like 22, 23 years old.
And speaking of CryptoCon, he is somebody I've met at CryptoCon. Obviously, I was excited. A huge fan of Hackers, huge fan of Scream.
Hackers. I love that movie.
For my son, he's Shaggy, which is his hero. And I was more afraid for my son to meet him than for me, because this is his hero. And he was the nicest guy. In fact, I obviously, because my kid, the only celebrity my kid ever cared about, I got him the picture and I got him the autograph. And Matthew was like, I want to give him something because my son was so shy. And he's like, hey, buddy. And you're talking to him. And he's like, and he asked him, he didn't just assume because he's a celebrity, my son would eat it up. He goes, can I give you a present? And my son was like, yeah. And he gave him the Scooby-Doo hat. And my son has it to this day. But he was just really, really sweet to him. When we were at the panel for him, a lot of people were asking him stupid questions like, why'd you spit all over yourself and stuff? And he was kind of heckling them back like, I'm not in the mood for this shit. My son was nervous, and he raises his hand. He's in the way back, and Matthew Lillard walked down from the stage, walked all the way up to him, and he said, what's your question, buddy? And it was what's his favorite season of Scooby-Doo or show of Scooby-Doo, and it was Mystery Incorporated. But he doesn't put up with shit, but he is also a very kind human being.
So kind. I remember because I was at the panel, and I remember waiting to go in. It got delayed, I think, because whoever's panel was before. And so he was in the hall, and I'm standing next to him. He's like, do you want a hug? And I was like, I do.
He's so cool. Like another guy who, as we were waiting in line, and I remember he went up to somebody, and you know, a lot of celebrities just assume people are all like, but he went up to somebody. He's like, oh, you know, almost time, and he goes, oh, hey, what's your name? And the guy told him, and he's like, oh yeah, Matthew. Like, I just love he has no pretense. You know.
Yeah.
Wow.
He looks like he's a blast to hang out with. I've never met him yet.
I hope you meet him.
I'm hoping that I do soon.
He's going to be at Comic-Con, Emerald City Comic-Con.
Ooh.
A bunch of them are. A bunch of the Scream cast. Nev Campbell's going to be there.
Very cool. I'll be taking my kid to that this year.
Yeah, they have a bunch of the Scream people there.
Very cool.
Fun.
He'll be excited. I mean, he's already met Shaggy, but like last year he met Freddy.
Oh,
So that was cool.
nice.
You know, now that you were talking about, because I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan since I was a kid. I would
You're gonna
love
have
to
to come back
see,
for a Scooby-Doo stream.
right?
have to
Well,
happen.
oh, I'm so down. I would love to see a Scooby-Doo Ghostface crossover, like
Oh man.
like
Yes.
Fred
If
and the
you
gang.
follow me on Facebook, there's an artist who did that, and that's my dream too. Oh my God, Mav,
Wow.
put a button on that because we're coming back to that.
All
You
right.
and me.
All right,
You
sounds
made the
good.
biggest mistake of telling me you're a Scooby-Doo fan. You're gonna be back a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge, massive. I have so many on VHS right behind me. Like,
My son and I are
oh
obsessed.
yeah.
So, Kim, you mentioned a really cool scene introducing another character, which when I watched this movie, I'm like, holy shit, it's me in a movie. It's Randy. And the coolest part about Randy is I was this person. My friends would make me like watch like fantasy movies with unicorns or sci-fi bullshit. I remember I loved Interview with the Vampire. My friend, for every time I made her see it, made me go see Stargate again. I'm like, God, I wanted to see Interview with the Vampire again. Like, I loved her. But my friends, none of my friends liked it. My friends thought it was really nerdy, really dorky. They were like low class films to like. And that's, you know, every time we did anything, I'd be like, oh, like in that one horror movie. And they're like, that's nice. That's so good. Yeah, I'm happy for you. So I loved this character because I was like, holy shit, it's me in a movie. And it was really cool that Jamie Kennedy got this part. It was largely because of the way he auditioned, he ad-libbed, and he brought energy to it. Breckin Meyer, Seth Green, and Jason Lee auditioned, and I don't think any of them could have quite been Randy the way that Jamie Kennedy was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The movie is also a satire. You know, the movie does a good job of showing that it loves horror movies, but also satirizing it and turning a lot of the genre conventions on their head. And I think a lot of that is to Randy, which is one of the biggest problems I had with Scream 2 when I first saw it. I was like, how do you kill the audience replacement character? Like, you need him to tell you the rules.
Yeah. Right.
Which, you know, obviously he has this iconic scene.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
But what's awesome about this movie is a lot of these rules. You know, we see people drinking. We have our final girl have sex. So this movie is like saying it doesn't have to be like that for forever. You know, we know you got tired of it. We know you thought that there was nothing original. We can still show that we love that and do something entirely original. Like our killer in this breaks rule number 3.
Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
And the best part is after that, he says, I'll see you in the kitchen with a knife. He just doesn't know who's going to be holding it.
Right.
That's right.
What else about Randy do you guys want to talk about? Randy is the one who establishes a lot of the rules and stuff. I think one of my favorite scenes is also just him commenting on it. When during the sex scene, they break it up and still give us that commentary by having him watch Halloween. So, you know, again, kind of going back to my whole thing, like Billy knows these rules too. But it is really cool that even it's almost like it is a meta commentary on the genre.
He's
Here comes the obligatory tit shot. Yes! Oh, lovely!
Yeah. Just narrating everything that's happening.
It's like he's almost talking directly to the audience.
Exactly. Yeah, he was kind of like, it was like pulling back the curtains, Wizard of Oz. Remember when they pulled back the curtains? And that was what his character was. And I remember when I first saw this movie, I remember going, I didn't know that there were rules. I was so young and so new to horror, relatively just a few years from the first horror movie that I had seen, and going like, oh my gosh, you know, to have someone break it down for you at that age, it made it everything that I had seen prior and everything I seen after makes sense, you know. And it was his character that was essentially the guy who pulled back the curtains to show us this is what it is. There's a very simple formula, you know, and it's so true. It's so true. So I don't think he's iconic, but I don't think he gets the credit that is deserved for how important his character is to horror movies.
Yeah, I thought it was such a misstep when they killed him in part 2, and then they had to bring him back by a video. Like,
Right.
I loved Kirby because I think we need that character who talks to us about the genre directly.
Yeah.
And he fulfilled that role so well. Also, I love the very meta scene because it's played by Jamie Kennedy. He's watching Jamie Lee Curtis in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, look behind you. Look behind you.
And
I love that.
You crazy, Craven. We got a super chat from Craven who's here, but that's really nice. By the way, guys, if I when my guests are here, I feel like they're in my house, so they get my full attention. But if you really want me to see your comment, send in a super chat. I will absolutely read it. Craven, thank you. You're so nice.
You're welcome, my friend.
He's also a member of the B Movie Coven because he's just the bestest friend ever.
That's
and
right.
You know
I'm
what?
also
I'm
a member.
gonna find you a clip. Here, this is just for you.
Hit me.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks,
I'll
buddy.
take it.
It was a perfect one.
I will take it. It is perfect. That's right. And if, by the way, for everyone here, if you're not a channel member of Gory B, what are you doing? Look, this is the time. If you've never seen a stream before, I know most of you probably have. If this is your first time here, this is the kind of dedication that Gory B puts into these streams. She works, she prepares. And let me just tell you, there's not a harder working woman in horror than Gory B Movie and Gory B Becker tonight. So if you have not subscribed, of course, do that. But really, if you want to help this channel grow, continue to see Gory expand her resources, her ability to bring you more content more frequently, elevate it. There you go, Gory. That's for you. Elevate the content.
I like how you guys use it.
See, there you go. It's not all bad. If you want to help that happen, become a channel member right now. Doesn't matter what level. Support Gory. Show her your appreciation by your monthly support, and you're going to help her succeed at even higher heights, and you will directly be involved in that success. So, and listen, I will never ask you to do something I don't already do. I am a channel member, okay? So I am speaking from conviction. Trust me. Do it. What are you waiting for? Let's go.
What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? And we got another oh, it hasn't come up yet. We did get another super chat from I can't find it to highlight it, but from Brandon. Thank you so much. I'll highlight this instead. He says, today is my mom's birthday. Can she get a shout out? Please, love you. Happy birthday, Brandon. I don't know her name.
Happy birthday.
Mom. And this is for your mom. You know what? All moms love cats. So I'm going to go with that. Here you go. This is for your mom. And also from Fairpoint Station, he says, aw, skeet, 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 skeet.
There we go. Get it up.
Get it up. Let's see. What do I got for you? Okay, I got some skellies for you. How about that? Drunk skellies, guys.
I tell you.
Because I care.
Love it.
Thank you guys so much for the donations. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. So guys, we're moving on. Our next character we're going to talk about. I consider this character to be the heart of the Scream franchise. I think that's why my heart got a little broken on the last movie. I think you guys know what I'm talking about.
Not Ghost.
I love this character, Dewey Riley, so much. So
him.
It wasn't intended to be this way. He was written as kind of like this heroic hunk type character, and they changed it because David Arquette took the part, and that's what he wanted to do. But I love it because in horror movies past, even starting with Last House on the Left, with the goofy music for the cops, there's this idea of this bumbling cop that can't do anything right. Like you can't count on the cops to save you. You are screwed. And we have that bumbling cop here. He's absolutely bumbling, but he has this big heart, and we know he's going to do whatever he can. He may not be able to save the day, but he's definitely not going to give up. I think we instantly just fall in love with him in this movie.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's so genuine. I mean, I love that there's the scene in the station after Sid's attack where Tatum's kind of giving him the business, and he's like, Mama said when I'm wearing this uniform, you respect me in public. You're doing this in front of my superiors. And she's like, the janitor's your superior. Like, he's so sweet.
Hey, Deputy Dewey boy.
Yeah, it's Gale calls him in her book in Scream 2 the Barney Fife, like if you get the Andy and Mayberry, if you get all that, he really is kind of like Barney Fife-esque. But you just root for him. We're hoping that he was going to make it out. And I know it was kind of ambiguous up until the very end of this movie on what his fate was. But he's just someone that you just kind of smile and you laugh with. You never want to laugh at. Kind of, he's just he played this role so well, so well.
He's so endearing. He's just so endearing. Like, even when he is like being, that scene with the mask and the scream, like that's also very relatable. This is not the kind of situation that a cop in a town like this is probably prepared for. So it's understandable that everyone's a little twitchy and that nobody is handling it the best way. And his interactions with Tatum, I think, is what ultimately at first sold me on him, is that it's so relatable, it's so believable that these siblings who squabble and one of them happens to be a deputy. I also appreciated that little touch of a moment where you're wondering, like, could he be? You got a friend.
I know what you're talking about. This scene here. Like, I remember when I saw this, I was like, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Right.
I think this moment here is why in Scary Movie that
it's so funny. So funny.
This moment.
Where he comes
like,
out with the
hello?
I told you not to bother me when I'm vacuuming my room.
Yeah, when you rewatch it, it's just because he wants to be this hunky big cop guy, but Dewey's really ahead of his time. At this time, I will tell you that adults in the 90s, adults didn't have toys on their desks. We didn't have comic strips and stuff. And so he's treated like a child by everybody, by his coworkers, by his sister, because he is kind of goofy. He likes his toys and stuff on there. But I think sometimes the mark of bravery is not never being afraid. It's going into danger even though you are afraid. Facing that fear. And so, he's kind of a big kid, but now more than ever with all of us, I mean, look at my Funko collection, who have these toys and stuff. I think he's more relatable now than he ever was before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, in Scream 5, I watch it regularly with my daughter. It's, even though it's my least favorite of the Scream films, it's still a good movie. But my daughter really likes it, so I'll watch it with her all the time, and I'm happy to have any Scream film playing. But we both skip the death scene.
Yeah,
the minute they get to the hospital, we're like, fast forward until Sidney meets Sam in the parking lot at the front door.
Yeah,
I when I saw it in theaters, anytime I've watched it since then, I pass that part. I can't watch it. It breaks my heart every time.
It does got me though. He was supposed to die in this movie, so I just try to remember that we're lucky to have him in the movies we did. They shot an additional ending last minute, which luckily we got this additional ending because the one they actually sent to test audiences, he did die, and audiences loved him so much. Like, he was such a fan favorite that they're like, no, add that scene back in. They love him. He needs to be in the next one.
And you know that's just, and I know we're not talking about it yet, but it was the same scenario for Scream 2. That they were going to kill him also in 2. It was going to be Randy and Dewey.
Yeah.
And I know I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, Gory. But,
you're fine.
But yeah, they were going to kill him in 2 as well. And Wes shot that alternate ending a second time. And sure enough, Wes says, nope, we're bringing him back. We're doing it again.
And one of my favorite scenes, I think really encapsulates him so well, is he's talking about the murder with the sheriff. And the sheriff's doing the typical cop thing. He's smoking. But for every time the sheriff takes a drag, Dewey licks his ice cream cone. I think this is my favorite Dewey scene.
Yes.
Perfectly dancing. Watch it. Like they do it. Even when the sheriff puts his cigarette out at the end, Dewey ends up dropping his ice cream cone. Like in Dewey's head, he's a badass. And we'll talk about the music a little more later on, but the music, the composer didn't go with your typical synth score. He went with like a Western score. And I think very much the Western character in these movies and why he has that theme is Dewey.
Yes. And Gory, did you know, and you probably do, that Wes Craven directed him on the ice cream stuff? That Wes wanted that intentionally to be done that way? Okay, yeah. He said every time you mirror him every time. It's just so funny. And there is that scene, the original version, he does throw down the ice cream cone, and you were going to see him step on it. He was going to crush it, just like the chief crushes his cigarette. And then Wes decided not to show that part, but they filmed it. Yeah,
I love that so much. Now, of course, I know I think you guys know who we're talking about next. I love this character. I don't know why we love this character so much because she's horrible.
I know.
She honestly,
love her.
Gale, I seriously thought she was going to die at the end because usually a character this bitchy dies. Like this scene here where you think there's a glimmer of heart.
If I'm right about this, I could save a man's life. Do you know what that could do for my book sales?
Bless you, Kenny. He's like, no, she's a good person. And I mean, she is, but you're not going to.
Yeah. You just have to kind of like peek for it.
Courtney Cox really fought hard for this part. It was originally offered to Janeane Garofalo, who turned it down. Brooke Shields had it offered to her. Elizabeth Berkley wanted it, but they were not going to give it to her after Showgirls. But Courtney Cox really wanted to play against her friend's type, and she liked this idea of this really bitchy character. And they kind of doubted her, but I think the moment you see her in this role, like she is not Monica from Friends.
No, she did a great job, and I love that little scene you just showed because when you see Kenny, what a great actor he is too. That little smile was like he's
hopeful.
Yes, she has a heart.
And I think he sees it. He sees a glimpse of it, and I think that's why he works for her.
Yeah.
Because he is a good. And we're gonna talk about you. I even have plans to talk about Kenny, guys. I got this. But I love Gale so much, and it's just because I think that's why we like these characters so much because in all their own ways, they're all passionate about something. For Sidney, it's just finding this normal life again, not letting her life be a horror movie. It takes a long time to get there. But Stu, it's hanging out with your best friend. And Billy, it's vengeance. And I feel like Gale, it's getting that Pulitzer. Like, good for you. Even though we know, like, it's a little cutthroat, it's not nice, but we know that she really has like these pure intentions of just like chasing her dreams. I think that's it. Also, the fact that we know that she's not entirely evil. Like, she does save the day at the end. She doesn't have to.
No, that's true. Well, even her defense of Cotton, like, she's so like she wants to get a rating. She wants to, but she's the one that's been pushing so hard and wrote a book and is convinced he's innocent. And whether or not, I mean, she's a reporter, she's a writer. She is, of course, for trying to further her career. She's ambitious, but she genuinely believes Sidney got it wrong and is fighting that and is being vocal about that. And I think as much as she can be not always making the best choices or again be cutthroat to the point of you're like, okay, there's a lot there to enjoy and to like, and I like that she's somebody who is flawed but has been with us for the franchise. That I said that earlier. I really like these very human characters and everything that comes with that. Yeah,
her hideous outfits.
Right. Gale was
her baby bangs.
Yeah. Gale was TMZ before there was TMZ, at least for
I'm happy.
But her arc throughout the now six movies, but through the first 5 has been amazing because she is someone that you rooted against. At least initially, you were like, I could give 2 shits on what really her outcome is, to now somebody that fans in the what are we hoping to see in Scream 6, or hoping that she doesn't die,
Yeah.
and she's had such a
I
cool
really hope
arc
not.
to go, to go from someone who's unlikable to someone who is now just a treasure. They've written her, I think, the best, even over Sidney. I think
She has a
she's had,
great arc.
yeah,
And
I
her
think
story still continues. That's why I said about Dewey dying, is I feel like his story continued too, but I think she's always still growing.
right.
And I do get why she's so ruthless, because you get she talks about being a cheesy tabloid journalist,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you get the impression that she has been overlooked, and she has
Mhm.
been second guessed, and she has been pigeonholed, and she knows she can do more. She
Mhm.
knows it's a big deal to save a man's life, but she also isn't going to try to pretend that it's not going to help her career.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's brutally honest about herself,
Yeah.
for the most part, but you see those, like you said, those little glimpses of there is a human being in there, like there is a heart. It's just, it's overshadowed by her passion and her drive to be successful. And there's a battle, an internal battle, even in the later movies, where she does still have that itch to just even one up
Uncover the
what she's already
truth and
accomplished. Yeah, and at whatever cost, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
But she is someone that you've gone from rooting against to rooting for 100%. And it's been a very cool journey to follow, for sure.
like this scene here, where I think it's really cute. I mean, we know she's playing Dewey, but we also know that she does genuinely seem to like this guy. And I think the reason she likes Dewey is because, like we talked about Dewey, he's just such a pure heart. Like, you can't feel good about, messing with him. So I think she genuinely does love spending time with him. But she doesn't ever let us forget who she is.
Looks like we've got a serial killer on our hands.
Well, serial killer's not really accurate. Gotta knock off a couple more to get that title.
Well, we can hope, can't we?
His face is pure terror.
It is. It's like, it's so morbid that he lays in there. It's like, oh my gosh.
Good thing you're cute. She is so tough. And I love how they took this bitch character that we've seen in a lot of horror movies, and they took that and used it as strength, where she comes through in the end and ends up helping out. And she's a great, backup for Sidney, especially in part 2 and some of the later sequels.
When I think they always had this bond, even if under any other circumstances they never would have liked each other, they never would have been in each other's orbit. It's except for all of these murders.
Yeah, I don't think she gets to see people like that with what she does.
Yeah,
and they have the greatest chemistry, even though she's taking advantage of him. Like, the way he looks at her, you're just like, holy shit. And of course, obviously, they had real chemistry. They did end up getting married, which was a lot to do with Wes Craven. Wes Craven was like, she really likes you. Go for it. And David Arquette says that was a big part of the reason why they started dating. But you can definitely see here the sparks are flying.
Aw.
Yeah.
Very cute. Even though I know they didn't end up working out, I just think it's so cool that they had this time capsule, because they do still love each other as, co-parents and stuff, and as friends. I think it's
100%.
wonderful that you really get to see this time capsule of how they fell in love.
Yep.
I think it's beautiful for their daughter Coco to be able to see this, because that is real.
Yeah.
There's something real there,
Absolutely.
Now let's have some fun. We talked about a lot of the big characters, and don't worry, we're going to talk about more characters. But I want to talk about some of the fun cameos in here.
Yeah.
You guys, I know you guys know them, so hit me with one. I got stuff. I'm ready.
Fred the janitor. That's my favorite one.
That's my favorite one.
Damn little shits.
What'd you call me?
Not you, Fred.
Not you, Fred.
Not you, Fred. And Mav, obviously you know who this is.
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do indeed. Freddy Krueger. That was it's such a cool. I mean, I've never seen a janitor wear anything other than a janitor's uniform, but yeah, hilarious. It was such a cool little whoa, what's happening right now? They're crossing over.
And seeing Wes Craven in the
And then-
costume.
He didn't want to do this, but he's so cute in this.
Yes.
It's so sneaky. I love it.
And the voice, because when you hear his interviews and you hear him talk, and then you hear the voice that he puts on, total, it's not, he put a voice on there.
He
Yeah,
did.
he
He
did.
did.
What do you call me?
Yeah, what'd
Yeah,
you
it sounded
call
like
me?
Like
yeah.
an old man voice. It's the most precious thing.
Mhm.
Also, I saw this one in the chat. Kim, I think you got this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh
Linda
yeah.
Blair.
Oh yeah.
I
No
almost
pea
didn't
soup this time.
recognize her without her head spinning in circles.
Right.
I know. Like, where's the vomit? Projectile vomiting.
So this is super fun, especially because if you know anything about The Exorcist, which by the way, I did get the behind the scenes book. That's something I'd love to tackle sometime. She faced a lot of crap from the press
Yeah.
after The Exorcist. I think it's perfect that she is this obnoxious, pushy reporter.
Yeah,
'cause
I'm sure she
knows-
channeled some very rough experiences for this morsel of a part for sure.
Absolutely, Mav. Absolutely.
And Wes worked
This
with her
one,
before too, right?
I think you know this one, Craven.
Yeah. Of course, we've got the mother from the Gremlins.
Yes,
Right.
Frances Lee McCain. So they
Yes.
really wanted like a traditional mom from like a horror movie, and
Mhm.
not only is she just a great mom, but in that movie, but she kicked ass in that.
She was a
The only mom who
badass
kicked
in
more
that
ass
movie.
was Dee Wallace. So really cool to see her in this.
That's right.
And then this one, I know I can count on Craven for. So we're going to move from talking about cameos to talking about notable side. In Scream, there are no small parts, guys. I think we love everybody in this movie. You know, I truly believe that. And I know Craven believes that, and I know he knows exactly what this is.
Nar, it's
There's my
Nar.
friend. Yes.
We've hung out with her.
Yes, we have hung out with her. We were texting each other last week. Again, catching up. Nancy Ann Ritter, the girl in the bathroom, such an adorable, sweet woman. I've had her on my channel, I think 3 or 4 times now as
She's
a
filthy,
guest.
guys. You're not even prepared for it. She is so filthy, and I love it.
Yeah, the funny thing is like we can do PG, which is my channel is very PG, which is like what's crazy because the only streams I've ever had to go demonetize myself were with Nancy Ann Ritter because I don't want to get in trouble and make it 18 or older to watch it. But yeah, the interview, like we did an interview, was great. Like everything was very professional. The minute like the kind of the formal interview period ends, she goes into next level. And when I say next level, let me just say this. I was not prepared.
She makes me blush, and that's hard to do.
Yeah, it was
I
like,
love her.
oh, I'm talking about. I can't even talk about it. You just got to go listen to it. It's all my.
You really
gonna
do.
have to listen to this.
Oh my
You
god.
gotta check it out, Cam, and she'll be back. She's so much
Yeah.
fun.
She's so sweet. She's coming back. Yeah, we're
She
gonna.
is so funny.
Oh, yeah.
So funny.
She told a story about interaction with probably the funniest comedian out there.
Yes.
I think I can't remember if that was on the Lethal Collective or if that was on your stream, Craig.
No, it was on mine. Oh yeah,
hilarious. She's
Yeah.
so funny. She's so funny.
extremely famous.
Definitely check that out on
comedian.
Craven's channel, guys. And he's also interviewed the woman who played Maveryk Prescott.
Yes, Linda
and
Creed.
he's talked to people on the new movie. So definitely, and he just also is Craven is up to date on all the news and stuff. So I know you guys are huge Scream freaks, and I'm sure you're already subscribed, but just in case you aren't, you're missing out. Do subscribe now because it's a lot of fun. Plus, I'm on there sometimes.
Heck yeah, you are. Yes.
I met Nav was through the Lethal Collective. This gal here actually got the part because she was Skeet Ulrich's real life girlfriend.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is the part of the movie that makes me want to barf more than even seeing Drew Barrymore's intestines. Girl, you just used the toilet.
Yes.
You have not washed your hands.
Nope.
What are you doing? She's also really mean, so I don't feel bad about that.
That's right.
But she's a great actress because I love that you love to be like, oh, what a bitch.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too. Just a little tidbit for you guys, a little backstory. That's Lauren Skefflo is the cheerleader, and her and Nancy Ann Ritter were really good friends. And Nancy Ann Ritter actually stayed with Laura as a roommate when they were filming this, and after that, and so she was around her and Skeet all the time. And what was really cool is that she was because she was Skeet's girlfriend. She was Wes allowed her, and she had a part. he allowed her to stay on set as they filmed the movie. So she was there for a lot of the general filming of the
Stuff you wouldn't
of
think she would be there for.
Yeah.
Man.
Yes, exactly right. You think that one little scene, she's actually there. So the really cool thing is that the two of them have reconciled their relationship in real life. I'm talking about Nancy Ann and Lauren here. So hopefully some point soon, I'm going to get both of them on the channel together at the same time, and it'll be a reunion of the bathroom girls.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that for us, just because I think it's wonderful for all the fans.
Yes, I can't wait.
That's awesome.
I'm working on it. Working on that.
Obviously, one of the things with Scream is, well,
there's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
And this is one of those movies where I think the first time you watch it, there's a lot of people. I suspected a lot of people. I didn't suspect Billy. I've told you guys this already. Did not suspect Billy. A lot of people were freaking sus in here. Sus is all hell. So I want to talk about some of these people because I think they did a brilliant job. One of the first ones I noticed in the movie, and every time I see it, like I get it, but I'm just like, the sheriff played by Joseph Whipp here, who the way he views his backstory, because he was a cop in A Nightmare on Elm Street, is after the events of Nightmare on Elm Street, he was so upset that he moved to what he thought would be a quiet town. So he views it as the same character. But this is the scene, his face here, he's looking at Henry Winkler touching Sidney's face, and he's like, dude, you're kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people suspected the sheriff because of the boots.
Right.
Did you guys ever suspect him?
Yeah, when he was putting out a cigarette. Absolutely.
Yes. And I love, this is one thing that I really hope that, and again, I'm probably rabbit trailing here. Sorry, Gory, but I just want to throw it in a really quick. I really hope, because we didn't really have that in 5. 5, we did not, in my opinion, have really any real whodunit aspect to the movie. Unfortunately,
I agree.
It was missing. And one thing about this movie, it magnifies how much it was missing when we're talking about moments like that. Just these moments in Scream where Wes is setting everyone up at some point to where you're suspecting. I mean, you're suspecting her dad. You're suspecting.
Oh, we're gonna get to them. We're gonna get to them. By the way, my friend
great.
Horror Movies and Beyond, who I'm very excited that we're finally gonna get to hang out. She will be joining me because these are going to be every week, guys. Sunday at 7:30. She'll be joining me for Screams 5 and 6. So I'm really excited about that. First time on the channel. So yeah,
nice.
Excited. I love doing these streams with you guys. So obviously we need to talk about this character. It's the Fonz. He combs his hair like the Fonz. He's got the leather jacket, and he did such a good job. He actually wanted to be uncredited because he didn't want to take anything away. But I think everyone, when you watched this, was like, "It's the Fonz."
It's the Fonz.
I love him in this. I love that he's a statue in Scream 4. I just think he's so memorable. He's so fun in this, and he does such a good job of being kind of creepy.
Yeah. Well, like the only thing I knew of him up until this movie was just like reruns on Nick at Night of Happy Days, right? And so then you could tell like he had aged, right? I'm like, hey, that's the same guy from Happy Days.
Hey.
But when he, But when
I love when you do it with the mask.
Oh yeah, I know, right? The mask makes everything better.
You're
Trust
so
me.
dapper.
Right? But when he gets pissed off at the students for playing the prank and he gets serious, it was one of those things, like it was like that feeling when your parents are really pissed off at you, where you kind of just
Not
like
a joke.
you're like, oh my god, like he's not just the happy-go-lucky goofy cool guy from Happy Days. Like this guy's pissed. Like
I was scared of those kids, especially when you see him the mask later on, and you're like, those kids aren't safe with him alone.
Right. Yeah.
And even the sheriff, the way he looks at him touching Sidney's face, he's like, I don't know if this is okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think you know things were different in the 90s. They weren't that different, guys. Like an adult man touching a teenage girl's face was still frowned upon, and you can tell that sheriff's like, this guy is not okay.
This is kind of creepy.
Yeah. He was a big suspect for I think a lot of people. Another suspect, which Craven just mentioned, was of course Mr. Prescott, which even Even Stu mentions him. He's like, "What about our pops, man?"
Yeah.
Mhm. That's right. What
Yeah.
about
He
our
comes
pops,
back in part
man?
3.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He was one that I kind of wondered about when and again, when I first saw this, I was a teenager, but we see him and then he goes. So I remember
Mhm.
that popping in my brain of like, well,
He's
that's kind
not
of
here.
weird.
Yeah.
Where'd
But
he go? And why isn't he at the Hilton?
why
the
isn't he at the
airport?
Hilton? But I also the scene where Sidney gets attacked, I struggled with believing that and it being him.
Mhm.
But I remember when I first saw it, I was pretty on board. So Billy was always the one that gave me the weirdest like vibes.
Yeah, I
Mhm,
just thought it was
mhm.
so obvious though. But you know, her dad, her dad was one I never suspected because again, they talk about it a lot. Like that was the other one. They really want you to think it's the dad, which is
Mhm.
important because that's the plan that
Mhm.
they're going with. And then, of course, the other one, the movie really pushes us on a lot is Cotton Weary. Now, the only reason I
Mhm.
thought this was a viable suspect is because he's only in this TV footage, but that's Liv Schreiber. I don't remember how I knew him, but I did know his name. I knew the
Yeah.
actor's name. And typically, like this is how I called Richie in the latest movie. If I know your name and you're new to the movie or you're a small part in the movie,
Uh-huh.
you're the killer.
I
Yep.
know.
Mhm.
So but
That's
he's
Liv
in Gale.
Schreiber.
Jack
Yeah.
Quaid.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Jack Quaid, I called Richie from the beginning. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's him. He's a big deal right now because of the
Yep.
boys. He's a star. He's not in this movie by accident. He's the killer.
And they
He was.
showed him getting stabbed by Sam in the trailer, but that's a topic for another day.
And they're homaging the boyfriend. Oh, we'll talk about this all in the future.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
he was a really good foil.
Yeah.
Just a really cool guy behind the scenes stuff about him. We're talking about him a lot in Scream 2. But he is somebody who in Scream 2, I think they did a great job of exploring him a bit more.
Mhm.
Yes.
Plus, I
Yes.
don't blame Maureen Prescott for getting some of that.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, girl.
Oh, okay. And Gory, I know that I just have to point something out while we're talking about this because I'd be remiss if I didn't. If you could pull that picture back up of Neil in
Oh,
the bedroom.
absolutely.
Now I don't know if you happen to have because we didn't talk ahead of time. If you had an image of him in the third act when he's on the kitchen floor.
I don't have an image of that.
Okay, no, that's all right. I just wanted to ask. So it's not necessary.
It's
So
okay.
what's interesting though, and this is something that with Wes especially, the attention to detail in these films is incredible. I mean, I remember even J.P. Jones, the prop master who worked with Wes for 15 years, he did every Scream film 1 through 4, much more others, many more films with Wes. He talked about how for this film, they had literally, 'cause this is before digital cameras, no smartphones, so they actually had Polaroid instant cameras, and part of Wes's task for all the prop team was before shooting ended, or scenes ended where they changed scenes, they had to take pictures of every blood splotch on every shirt, every blood splotch on the floor.
That's what was in Fangoria. I told you the Fangoria
Yeah.
issue. It was pictures of Drew Barrymore, like them taking Polaroids of her to get the
Yes.
blood because he's very
Yes.
big on making sure the continuity was right.
Continuity.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is why when you watch that scene now, the kitchen scene, for example, where all the blood stabbings going on, you would not realize that this is going over 3 weeks. It looks like it is seamlessly happening in one night.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you. We're
It's-
going to talk about scene 118.
Oh yeah, we'll get there, but
We're getting that.
But let me just say real quick, the reason I brought this up, it was the attention to detail. So if you notice what Neil is wearing here with this shirt and this jacket, and he's wearing blue jeans, whenever it comes time for the reveal, when Stu's like, "Oh, we got a surprise for you, Sid. It's a Scream," and he goes and he grabs Neil right in the kitchen, and he brings him in. I just want to point this out. We'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but it's the exact same clothes that Neil is wearing here. It's the same shirt, jacket, and pants, which means when he says goodnight to Sidney here, I'm going to hit the sack. Got to leave first thing in the morning. He's telling her goodbye because she'll be asleep when he leaves in the morning, supposedly. What happens is, guys, one of the reasons Billy is in that house and then is distracting her is because when her dad leaves here to go to bed, he never makes it.
Never does. That's why Billy turns on the music.
Yes, Billy's in there talking. He's distracting her. He's doing the clothes on top of the clothes stuff. While that's happening, it's buying time.
He turns on the music and he looks through the door because Stu is gagging and kidnapping her father.
Yes. And I just want to point
He's
that
also
out.
there for an alibi, which we know later on too.
For an alibi as well. So it's a two-handed thing. So whenever you see that, this Stu has actually kidnapped her dad. In this exact moment, he never gets to his bedroom to sleep that night. He is kidnapped there.
He closes that door and then Stu gets him. That's why Billy immediately turns on that music, which is really fitting too because it's Don't Fear the Reaper. And obviously Ghostface is that Father Death costume. It's that Reaper costume.
Yeah. Just had to point that out because
it all lines up, guys.
Such attention to detail is incredible, man. It's so awesome.
I also want to talk about, I mentioned I talk about him later or earlier. I want to talk about Kenny. Kenny, I love Kenny in this. I think he's got just a big heart, even though he actually had a lot more of a scene. There is a scene right before he gets killed. He's like, well, why me? Because he didn't do anything.
Right.
Which Wes Craven was sad that got cut. Because he is a really good actor. I think most people probably know him more from Something About Mary. He was Mary's brother. W. Earl Brown. He's really good in this.
Deadwood.
Yes. And he's so good with Gale. But I think my favorite scene with him is when Sidney gets into the van. He just got his throat slit. He honestly doesn't have to do anything. It actually is really painful for him to do anything. But he uses his last bit of energy to show her where she can get out of the van. I just think that's so brave. And it just makes me really love this character.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's just a victim. I think in his own way, he is a hero. I think we all know who I didn't talk about, right?
Wait, real quick. Gory, you want to hear a little trivia about that scene?
I'd love to, yes.
So
I always do. You know me.
I figure. That's why I want to put it out there. So in the original director's cut, when he gets stabbed across the throat, there's instead of it cutting, it actually extends the scene's a little longer, and Kenny has this reaction. He looks down like he's seeing what just happened to him, and he's like, he has this look of just absolute fear, and it's sad. It's like I can't describe it other than that. It's like very sad. He's realizing what just happened, and instead of just like falling or just turning around, he actually stops and looks down, and he sees the blood coming out, and he has this horrified look, like he's just terrified. And then he turns to that scene you just showed. So, but the MPAA said you can't show that. It's too long. You can't be on in that long after having that done. So Wes had to shorten it, where you see the slice comes out, and then all of a sudden we see it flip to where we're inside the van and what we just saw. But that scene was supposed to go on for about an additional 3 seconds or so.
And I think the reason why Kenny resonates with us so much, even though he's such a small part, is we see him with Gale, and I think we know that he is somebody who sees the best in people. That's why he's so surprised that he's getting killed, because he hasn't done anything wrong. He hasn't done anything to hurt anybody. He's just really in the wrong place at the wrong time. And even though he could just be angry and be like, why me? He still uses that moment to be heroic, to put other people first. So I love Kenny. I love Kenny.
Yeah, he was fun. I watched it the other day with my wife. I watched this movie, and where Gale's like, Jesus, hurry up with the camera. And he's like, my name's not Jesus.
I love it. Which actually, that was an ad lib.
Yes.
Oh, was it?
It was.
Yes.
You're right.
Yeah.
I think I love that line.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what, dude, we don't have to blaspheme. Let's don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, and I've actually used that in my real life too, where someone I was talking to one time, and they said that, they used it like that, like, JESUS. And I'm like, I I said, my name isn't Jesus. And they were like, I know. I was just like, I'm going to call you on it if you're in my house.
Oh,
I don't
so
want you.
And you know, I think we have a lot of that character in horror movies. You know, the big guy who's the butt of the jokes. I like that he's
Right.
never the butt of the jokes.
Mhm.
He does get picked on by Gale at one point, but then the movie doesn't. The movie tells you that Gale's point of view of this character is not accurate. That this is a good person. This is a heroic person. I think it goes into that subverting expectations that we can find heroes in lots of unexpected places.
Yeah. He had a small bit part in another Wes Craven movie. Do any of you guys know what that was or what movie it was?
I don't. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me.
It was
me.
he was don't say it, Craven.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. He was the coroner in Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Oh, very
that's
good.
right.
Yeah, that now that's really a good catch.
After
Awesome.
That's
yeah.
right. He sure is. Yep.
You kind of look like you could be a coroner, Math.
I you know what? I've seen well, never mind. Another stream. I won't even get into it.
We're gonna talk more. We're gonna talk more for sure.
I've seen a lot.
Your whole room
in
there is
my-
very Undertaker's room, and I love it.
I know, right?
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Ghostface. Like, it is so hard. So many movies try to do it, and there's some great ones that somehow, for whatever reason, don't do it. It is so hard to create a new slasher icon. It's nearly impossible. And Ghostface was one of the last ones where everybody knows who Ghostface is. If you don't like horror movies, you know who Ghostface is. We all know who Ghostface is, which is crazy because he doesn't really have an official name in this movie. He's called that by Tatum. And then the final act, then no one's even wearing the costume. But this character became so iconic. A big part of that, obviously, is due to Roger Jackson, who is the voice. His voice was a placeholder. This is the guy who did Mojo Joe's voice. Mojo. It was a placeholder. But Wes Craven said the voice is so intelligent and evil, and he's also good at kind of playing friendly when he wants to. But there's a bit of likeness underlying to that voice. It's perfect, and he's been in all of the movies. And I honestly, I don't want a Scream movie without him. I think he is essential.
He's as recognizable as the costume at this point.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I've met him too, by the way. If you guys get a chance to meet him, he's so much fun. My husband was holding the camera when I was talking to him. I got my autograph on the wall here, and he's like, who am I? Who's this? And I said, why? He's like, I want to know who I'm looking at. And it's Danny. Like, that's Danny. He's just so cool. He's also doing Mojo Jojo and stuff. Like, I just adore him. He's so great.
I love that.
But yeah, he is perfect. I'm so glad he has stayed with the franchise. We also need to credit Lee Waddell, who is the stunt performer in parts 1 and 2. Not only did he do some great stunts, I think some of the best stunts are in this movie, but things that are iconic to Ghostface, the cleaning the knife that we even saw in Scream 5, that was actually because he pointed out there would have been a continuity error. He's like, the knife is clean in the next scene. And he's like, no, it's cool. I'm going to clean it off. Like, he also brought so much to this character.
Yep.
Yeah. He did a great job. He really did.
Well, and just the visual of a killer, man, that for me as one of his like little signature, like that moment always stays with me. That just
and let's everyone talks about how clumsy Ghostface is. Let's look at some of those stunts, which were done by a very talented stunt man. There's actually more that were cut out because Wes Craven was even like, we're kicking his ass a little too much. But they just had so much fun because they had such a talented person in that costume, which at some points in the first scene, it actually is Wes Craven. He gets hit by Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
Phone.
Nice.
Let's little walk down Ghostface memory lane, guys.
It's like the Dick Van Dyke Show.
I know,
all the crap falls.
And I think that's what makes it so scary is because that's a human being.
Yeah.
It makes it more suspenseful because you think the characters have a chance of getting away.
Mm-hmm.
It's a human being. But that also, I think it makes it a lot scarier because you don't know who it is. It's like everyone's a suspect. It could be anyone you know. Scream 5, it's always someone you know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and for the all the people that have commented about how clumsy Ghostface is and everything, like, I don't know, I mean, for just the realism of like crime scenes are generally messy. You know what I mean? It's never like, it's not like Hitman or Leon the Professional where it's this kind of clean in and out. Like everybody has a plan, and then what actually happens is totally different, right? I'm sure they had plans to go in and make this smooth and quick and easy, but shit goes south, and it feels more real. It feels more grounded in reality to watch him get hit in the nuts with a beer bottle. Now, granted, would that beer bottle explode? Yeah, exactly. That beer bottle wouldn't have exploded, but still, I appreciate the clumsiness and the falling. You know, in Scream 2, we see that him trying to jump over the couch. And,
which Scream 2 is
eating
also Lee Waddell. He did the first 2 Scream movies.
Right. And I actually enjoy that. It makes it more realistic to me, at least, is, you know, the crime scenes are 90 some odd % of the time a mess. It's a disaster. And that's what we see take place. So
Also,
I
keep
appreciate
in mind, they're wearing a mask. It's hard to breathe. You
Oh,
don't have
your
any
vision.
side vision at all.
Really hard to see.
It's
You're
really
preaching to the choir here. It's hard to see. It's hard to breathe.
Like they're teenage boys. They're not trained like
Right.
That's
in
right.
They're teenage
They're not
boys.
assassins. They're not
Yeah.
ninjas.
A
Like-
17-year-old kid. Think about that.
Yeah,
17-year-old
like,
kid.
I teach theater to teenagers. I watch them do shit like that all the time. And like that's basically what it is, watching them do anything. They're they're falling over, they trip over each other, you know. It's real.
It is.
They're very obviously humans and not other, you know, supernatural forces. There's nothing going on. They don't have superior strength. They're just like 2 dumbasses.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I literally a few minutes ago when I went to get this beer, I tripped right over here. Like, it's your peripheral vision, and I know my room like the back of my hand. I staged it the way that it is, and I still trip, or I'll, you know, hit the corner of this. My bar is right here, so I hit the corner of my bar and stumbled forward. Like, it happens, and it's more realistic, and so I don't ever have a problem with them not being so fluid or so you know, polished. Like, it makes more sense to me. So.
Yeah, it would take me out if they were
right, like ninjas,
slick and pulling all these moves out, because that's where it would be unbelievable to me, unless it turned out they were somebody where it made sense for them to have some kind of training.
Right.
But when the reveal is again 2 teenage boys, I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Yep.
I think like, oh damn, I totally lost my train of thought. You know what? Forget it.
I'm
So
sorry.
let's talk about the mask. Oh no, I did it to myself. I have ADD, and so when I look at something and then I totally forget what I was just thinking about. It was my fault. I did it to myself. Anyway, so the mask, if you guys have seen Edward Munch's screen painting, it's a little inspired by that. You guys know I love old Betty Boop cartoons. It is inspired by that and Pink Floyd's The Wall. It was already a mask by Fun World, and it was found kind of by accident when Marianne Madalena was location scanning. They went into this bedroom and it was just hanging from the post, and she was like, that's cool. And she like sends a picture and they're like, oh, that's kind of perfect. And again, you know, we talked about, you know, Craven and I talked about before about the Weinstein's meddling, which they really put their foot down with the sequels. But this one, Bob Weinstein was like, that is the stupidest fucking mask I've ever seen. Do not. And Wes was like, no, just watch the opening scene. Let us use the opening scene with this mask. Watch it, and then if you don't like it, we'll look at another mask. And he's like, nope, I was wrong. It looks awesome. It looks awesome.
That's right.
Yep.
And that was the last time they meddled around with Wes in that first movie. They're like, okay, we're gonna let you make your movie now. You know,
Should have just trusted him. But I mean, the sequels are still great, so it's not.
They got a
terrible.
deal too. They got wasn't it like $100 and a credit at the end of the? I think
Fun
Wes
World. They now have credit on everything now. Anything with Ghostface's picture on it, it actually really helped them a lot. This was part of a little promotional like Fright Faces thing. I think they did. And now Fun World's credited on everything. And now Ghostface, the Father Death costume, whatever you want to call it, they talk about in this movie, they said like costume in every 5 and dime. It is the best selling Halloween costume of all time.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, that says something. That says something right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, what a great franchise, man.
I think something else this movie launched off with a lot of these teen slasher movies is they all had great soundtracks. I mean, there were ones like The Craft that came out, it actually was filmed the same year, but it did come out first, which had a great soundtrack. But the 90s had awesome like alternative soundtracks, and the Scream soundtrack is terrific. First, there's the score by Marco Beltrami. He didn't do the synth score that you would expect with this kind of a throwback movie. He wanted to do more of like a Western thing, and it's really unique. That's why everyone notices it when it's in Halloween H2O, because you recognize it immediately. But I think it works really well for this movie. And then there's just the soundtrack. Do you guys have favorite songs from the soundtrack? Notable tracks that stand out to you?
Oh yeah.
I mean, Red Right Hand is always the
I have to start there too, Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been in all the movies for a reason. It just makes you think Scream.
Exactly.
God bless the youth of America.
Yes,
that's another great one.
Bird Brain.
Yes.
I was a huge Republica fan when this movie came out, so I already had their album. They did that. Up, I'm ready to go on the roof. Yeah. So during the party scene, they played Drop Dead Gorgeous, and so I was so happy because I loved Republica. I was a dork, guys. All right. No one's trying to say I was cool. Also a huge Alice Cooper fan.
Yes.
She was blasting that from, I think it's her bedroom window in the scene when they come home from school on the second day.
It was so fitting because it was right after Principal Hembry's death.
Yeah.
That cuts right to, and I always think of Dazed and Confused when I hear that song, but it was like the segue from his death to that, and then the whole town basically shutting down was just perfect timing, perfect placement.
And it's perfect because they don't go back to school for their
right.
That's true. Yeah.
Another one is the one that plays during the credits, Whisper to a Scream by Soho. I always think of that song, because it just comes right in the credits. And I like that they didn't go with a hard song. Sometimes these horror movies will end with a really hard song for the credits. And this one is just like, it's almost like a teen comedy movie song. It's like you end this movie, and I think a large part of it is due to the soundtrack. You end this movie with a smile on your face. Even if you were scared in parts of it, you feel like you had a good time. Like it was a roller coaster. There are parts of it that were scary, but you had fun.
You did. And can we have to acknowledge the killer Moby track at the end with Gale out doing the final scene of the movie, and we have the Moby songs playing, and I can't remember the name of it. And then we get the Ghostface flash.
That's become something that they've brought back with a lot of them. I mean, this movie is so iconic, and I think a lot of the things in this movie, they're like, we have to do that again. A little bit to the sequel's detriment because they've become predictable. But it's because this movie made such a mark. Let's talk about the visuals. Some of my favorite scenes, and then you guys jump in with yours. I love all the reflections of the Ghostface mask. First in the window with Drew Barrymore's character Casey. This scene with Principal Hembry in his eye.
Love that.
And I think visually my favorite scene is this little one here where Ghostface, I mean, he just seems larger than life as he just kind of, overpowers Casey. The way it's shot with that fog and that little bit of slow-mo, it just makes it so much bigger.
Yeah. Absolutely. When we talked about it earlier, but then the shot of her hanging, I mean, like,
that's probably my favorite.
Yeah. I have a reaction to it every time I see it. You can't not, I don't think.
I also just love the vibrant colors. A lot of movies, and it works for some movies like The Ring, that is entirely a part of the atmosphere. But this movie has a very like high school movie atmosphere, a very John Hughes, bright colors for their clothes, bright, vibrant colors.
Yeah.
Yes, vibrant colors in all of these scenes. It really adds to it. And that's again something I hope they do with Scream 6, because Scream 5, I thought it did that kind of traditional darker toned movie. But all these movies are so bright and vibrant, and it kind of puts you in the place of Sidney, where you're just like, they're John Hughes characters in a slasher movie. Like this isn't supposed to happen to them.
It was like I'm in the bathroom at school and I'm not safe. Like there's something about all of these bright lights, being in daylight, being in and to be getting attacked and getting, it's a device. I always enjoy horror movies that decide to put scary scenes in really, really bright daytime.
I think one of the scariest movies of all time, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is almost entirely in the daylight.
Almost entirely,
You can make daylight scary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do love the shot when Sidney pushes the TV onto
I love that too, yeah.
And the moment, like the from above, and then that is a delightful moment. The kill shot, I mean, like, I'm not somebody who usually actually gets hung up a lot on kill shots, but I thought the way the kills were set up, the way a lot of the moments were set up, were so thoughtful. There was intention, really, really deliberate intention behind the framing of stuff, the way things looked, to make it impactful. And thinking back to the connection to the Gainesville Ripper, who was so precise with how he staged his scenes. I think that, well, because they talk about it with the principal too, that they, he's found like hanging from the
and they
from the goalpost.
So you're like, he took the time. They took the time to then stage this scene. So they're not just killing when they can. They are making tableaus and making these pictures, and that's always so upsetting and disturbing to think about, because it's not just a kill, then it's so deliberate, and there's a joy in it. There's this Hannibal Lecter, I'm making art,
Right. I also just love how California this movie is. Actually, the Weinsteins wanted to move it to Vancouver, and I'm so glad Wes Craven fought for it, because you honestly, we see a lot of California movies like Halloween that are not supposed to be California, but this movie is California. Especially when you see like Sidney's house and those vineyards. This movie is California. It totally fits California, embraces that. It wouldn't have looked the same if it was in Vancouver. It just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, it's that daylight, it's that bright sunniness. People always think of like California, it's all fun and lightheartedness, and this movie made California scary.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here from California, and it was nice to see that. It was nice to see like something set, because I'm from the Central Valley, so a lot of where, like, it's ag mostly where I'm from, so that setting hit home a lot more than if it was like downtown LA or San Francisco. I'm kind of in a moderately big city, but we're mostly ag out here. So all the hills, the vineyards, all that stuff, like it felt like that was the town next door to where I'm at, basically. So
Kim and I are up in Washington, but even here, I think just the whole West Coast, there's a lot of just areas where it takes 20 minutes for the cops to get out there. I live in a very small town in the mountains, and so that's something that I really resonated with, as opposed to some movies like Halloween, where it's a small town and the cops should be here in 2 minutes. A lot of places out here, it's still a lot of like farmland or
wine. Journey. Yeah. No, I think the vibe would have just been so different too if it was anywhere else, and that just would not have worked. No.
And I know you guys have been looking forward to this. We're going to talk about the ending now. So we talked a lot about how this one subverted expectations. This ending scene, it's so weird when you rewatch it. Like, you actually look at how long it is. The final scene is 42 minutes long. It's most of the movie. They called it Scene
Yes.
118. They actually have shirts made saying "I survived Scene 118" because that
That's
final
right.
party scene it's over half the movie.
Mhm.
So it went on a lot, and they had to do it, pretty continuously back to back just to keep continuity and just to keep everything going and keep the energy up. Craven, do you want to talk about anything like with the Scene 118, the craziness of it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Matthew Lillard is very upfront about how, when they showed up, like, because again, they would shoot from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Mm.
and they did it for 7 days a week for 3 straight weeks. So that was their filming schedule, because that whole third act is at night, as you all know, it's the night of the party.
Mhm.
So he would talk about how difficult and challenging it was, because when they would show up and they would get it and they'd unload from the van or whatever, they're going in and they could be right in the middle of filming that kitchen scene with Sidney, for example, and they have to walk in from the front yard on at number 11, at level 10 or 11, through the roof. They had to be able to get into that space, and and Matthew talks about how draining it was, exhausting, because the entire time they're shooting, they have to stay up. They have to be there. Like, they can't come down
And
to
that high energy where
that
you
high
spit
energy.
coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, and they're doing that multiple times, days in a row. And so he was just saying how, and I think it's like, that's why I'm talking earlier, how when you watch the third act, if you didn't know any better, you would think they pulled that off in one night of
Mhm.
shooting, because it looks like it's a fluid,
It
everything's
took
fluid.
21 days to film that scene.
Yeah, 21 days.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
most of their filming schedule was that scene.
And there's no scene in there. Once that third act starts, there's not a scene of Stu and Billy where they're just sitting down on the couch.
Well, even Sydney's not like, I'm now I have my coffee
Right.
break. Everyone's
Right.
running, everyone's
Everybody.
screaming, everyone's at a 10.
Yes,
It's a
everything.
lot.
It's
It's
incredible.
a lot. Who did you guys think the killers were when you first saw the movie?
So I'm going back. I mean, we're going back 26 years for me. I remember. Okay, so initially I thought it was Billy, and then he got stabbed, right? But the concept of two killers never crossed my mind. Right?
Did that surprise everybody else here? Because it surprised me. That's where I was thrown for a loop.
Mhm.
I had a lot of suspects. I really thought it might be Randy because he knew the rules. I thought Tatum, and I thought maybe Stu. I
Mhm.
never thought, and I never thought two killers.
So I thought, okay, so I remembered Stu from Hackers, and he was so funny,
And he
was
played
so
serial killer.
right, and he
as in
was
Fruit
so
Loops.
serial killer in Hackers, but he was so funny that I wrote him off completely. I thought he was just too much fun to be a killer. But the only thing that I started questioning was when Dewey put the flashlight under his face
Mm.
when he was going off to inspect Neil's car, or the strange car parked down in the woods
Mhm.
with Gale, and he was like, he put the flashlight under his face. I was like, he's gonna be the killer. That was the only thing besides Billy getting stabbed that threw me off. I was like, it's gonna be Dewey. And then I don't know, I was so lost when the final reveal came out. I was clueless. Like, my head was spinning like Linda Blair. Like, I didn't know what was happening. So I was all over the place. But then again, like I said, I was 10 trying to figure this thing together. I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
That's so cool. I can't imagine what it'd be like to see this as 10.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. I've heard a lot of people talk about watching it younger. I was like, wow, like I can't. It's cool to hear your experiences though, because it's so different than mine.
Oh yeah. I remember it so well because, like I said, it just blew my mind. When it was all said and done, it was unlike anything I had ever seen. And it's always been like right at the top. It's, we'll get into that later, but like it's always been there for me ever since I saw it. It just opened my eyes to a whole new world of film and, who done it and everything. Right. So yeah, it was I was way off. We'll put it that way. I was on the right track, but then deviated hard the other
for
way.
everyone, this was the big like jaw drop moment.
Mhm.
Surprise, Sidney.
I was like, what? What? Like, I was already like, what? It's Billy. And the movie, here's the thing. I get really frustrated, or I love to dig deep into movies. You guys, watch my all the gory details videos. I love it. Kim does too. I know you guys do too. That's why we're friends. But when I feel like they pull something out of left field and they didn't set it up, I am just like, that was cheap. I feel like Casey did. You tricked me. This movie, the more I watch it, the more I'm like, how did we not know? There's so many hints. So let's get into those hints, because I'm telling you guys, I find new ones all the time. Like this moment where Randy tells us. Randy is the guy who knows horror movies. Randy tells us who the killers are. He suspects Stu by the fountain. And then this one.
Are you telling me that's not a killer?
He called it. He called it. He's the guy who knows movies. You guys got another one? Hints that they were the killers.
Oh gosh. Well, the whole fountain scene interaction, the dialogue about I didn't.
Did
kill
you really
anybody.
put her liver in the mailbox? Because I heard
Well,
you put her liver in the mailbox.
Well, I'm talking about between specifically. Yeah, it was good too. Specifically between though Billy and Stu, when Stu's like, "Nah, I didn't kill anybody," and Billy leans forward and "Nobody says you did."
Yes, that scene. Oh my gosh, this part here. Look at Billy's face when you watch it again. First time you watch it, you're like, he's protecting his girlfriend. She's upset.
Yeah.
You watch it a second time, he's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Watch.
How do you gut someone?
You take a knife and you slit him from groin to sternum.
Hey, it's called tact, you fuck rag.
He's like, dude, shut up. He's not caring about Sidney. The more I watch it, the more I think he hates Sidney. Maybe he liked Sam's mom. He's only having sex with Sidney to de-arm her, because that's how it works in his head. He hates her because that's linked to his mom leaving him. It's not about protecting Sidney. It's like, shut up. You're going to give up the game. Another one, like, he is so not subtle. And it's directly after Sidney asks, where's Tatum? We know, having seen it before, Billy just killed Tatum in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
Look at his face.
Tatum, come on. Nobody here but us. Yeah. You know where she is?
No, I haven't seen her.
Oh, Billy, hey.
I practiced.
Job's done. I did it.
He's looking. He's like, yeah, it's done. Like, he's basically like, I took care of it. Also, this scene here where, like, if you forgot, I mean, he mentions The Exorcist. Every time we see Billy, oh, you're just like, Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. And he's not as obvious about it as Randy, but when he says this line at the end, you're like, he's been talking about horror movies the whole fucking movie. Why didn't I notice it?
Corn syrup. Same stuff they use for pig's blood in Carrie.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it clicks. I've got some more fun ones. This scene, the way they crowd on Randy is exactly what they do to Sidney at the end of the movie.
Yes.
They're like wolves, and they kind of close in on their prey. A little bit of foreshadowing. Let's see. During the scene when Sidney and Billy have sex, you'll notice Billy's looking at the door, and first time you watch it, it's like, he doesn't want anyone to walk in on them having sex. He's making sure the door's unlocked so Stu can get in.
Yeah.
Like, these things, guys. These things. Oh,
Oh yeah.
So many hints.
I'm getting warmed up.
things.
I'm just getting warmed up.
Wes Craven mapped this stuff out too. He's like,
Yes.
No, you need to do this here. Look this way here. I mean, all of that. Yeah. I mean, that's oh my gosh, dude. Yeah.
So fast.
It's brilliant direction and performance. It's just, and again, not trying to say anything bad about any other directors, but Wes was a master. He was a genius with this stuff. It was art. It was such an art form, and it was his style. And a lot of this stuff we're talking about now goes over people's heads. Like, people watch it, a casual fan, just don't even see it.
This one I forgot to add to my pictures, but this one is one that when you watch it again, here, let's share my screen. How do I do that? Dun, dun, dun. Aha, here we go. This picture here, if you look up in the corner here, you guys, can you see my mouse? That's a doll of Casey. And we know this is Stu's house.
Yes, yes.
So
The
if she
hanging
had just
dolls.
noticed that, she would know instantly who the killer is. She'd at least know it was Stu.
Yep.
Because it's his house. Also, another scene, speaking of like, we should have known it was Stu all along. Hold on. Let me grab the clip. I don't think I added it in here. This scene here. So there's a scene right after Billy is killed. And Sidney runs away. She goes through a room. She's heading towards the stairs. And then Ghostface cuts her off. Unless you knew this, and this is a big house. Yes. You knew this house, like the back of your hand. You wouldn't know how to do that. So watch. It's too quick. He knows it's his house. And when you watch it again, you're like, how did I not know? It's Stu's house. Whose house? Stu's house. Stu's house. More foreshadowing. The fact that 2 boys were expelled for dressing up as Ghostface kind of foreshadows we're gonna get 2 boys.
The 2.
That's right. All these clues, you know, after you watch it. You see them in plain sight after you know what's gonna happen. And that's what's so great about these kind of movies. It's like you're rewatching them.
Well, I remember thinking too that it must be one of the teenagers after the principal gets killed. So I was like, there's only teenagers would have that kind of like.
Did any of you guys ever wonder if it was Billy or Stu that made the phone call to Stu's house to say that the principal was strung up around the goalpost, like just as a ruse to get them out of the house? Like maybe, maybe he wasn't actually.
Because Billy, he just killed Tatum, but I think Stu they've already done it, so they've done it a good. As far as he lives out there, it's been up for. At least 20 minutes.
Yeah. No. I was just I always wondered that. And the other thing that I wondered was I don't want to say it because I don't want to like make your stream get demonetized, but the when they say that Maureen was Ard when she was Ard,
right?
Do you think that Billy or Stu or both actually did the act?
Well, no, it's because she had sex with Cotton.
Right. So is it because there was because there was fluid left behind that they assumed that it was a R and murder?
They know she had sex with Cotton, but Sidney thinks it's non-consensual.
Right. I mean, it would make this movie a whole lot darker had they actually, like people always talk about if they do a prequel to where it shows Maureen's death, if that was something that Stu and Billy actually did, that they did R her before they killed her.
I think she had an affair with Cotton, and then they stole his jacket because he does say later on his car is broken into, and then after they murder her, they leave wearing his jacket. So Sidney sees that her mother has had sex, she is dead, and so Sidney thinks, well, that's what happened to her.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of folks who do think that Billy and Stu did do that. I know in the community there are.
But she was assaulted by, like when we get into part 3.
Right.
Yeah. My only thing is, the reason why I tend to think they did not do that is that part of it is because of DNA evidence.
I think so. There would be DNA evidence.
The likelihood one of their DNA evidences might be found.
Also, Billy hates her with a fiery passion.
That's true.
And Stu. One, I have my theories about Stu, but Stu points out that she's not attractive, at least not to him.
No Sharon Stone.
No Sharon Stone. I read Stu as gay. I think that's why he's fine with his girlfriends being killed. His most intimate relationship is with Billy. I don't know if Billy is, but I definitely, the way he gets upset when Billy's shouting and stuff, and how he looks at Billy, the way they are always touching each other and getting really close, I think he has a crush on Billy.
Yeah,
Possible.
If nothing else, that is
Possible.
his closest relationship, and he loves Billy more than he loves anybody else.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's at all interested in Maureen Prescott. He makes a point of how she's not attractive, and Billy hates her.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys think there's something with Stu and Billy? I've heard people say that they have a relationship, and I don't see it going both ways with Billy.
I don't think no.
I don't
But
know.
with Stu, I think he does have. I know he loves him, and I think he might be also attracted to him.
I mean, it's possible, but I've got a friend for 30 years that I love this guy. Like I could totally go up to him and grab him around the neck. And if you didn't know any better, you may think there's more to it, but there's nothing at all to it. It's just
right.
I definitely
I
think,
see it differently. I guess it's because I have a friend like that.
Yeah, well, and I have friends like that too. But I definitely think, regardless of whether or not it's platonic or not, I think Billy is the love of his life. That is the person he would die for.
Oh, I agree with you there. 100%.
That's the person, like I said, who saw him when he felt invisible.
Yeah.
Even if it's
That's
a
right.
brotherly thing, that's the person he loves more than anything. And I think the love of your life doesn't necessarily have to be romantic.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Prequel.
So moving on, let's talk about the legacy of Scream.
Careful. This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
Do you guys think Scream is scary?
Yeah.
I don't want to be from Ghostface. I mean, just put that scares me. So yeah, I think I always consider it a what do I call it, a whodunit on steroids is what I like to describe this movie. It's like an Agatha Christie movie on steroids with action, and I think it's fear is up to the individual, like what level what we find scary. Some people find viruses more scary than knives. There's some people, and vice versa. All of us are different, but I think the movie is. Let me put it this way: if I'm any of those people in that movie, it's terrifying.
Oh yeah,
these are terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, after probably the 500th time that I've seen this movie, in that sense, it's not. I know that I can recite the movie while I'm watching it.
Yes.
But
I noticed that yesterday when I was getting clips for this, I was like, I think I know this movie by heart, and I was not embarrassed by that. Actually, I pictured a little like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like an ethereal force of Craven going, yes, mommy, that's good.
Yes.
Right?
Well done, Padawan.
But the concept of Scream is terrifying, right? Because it's anybody. It could be there's motive or it's the millennium. Motives are incidental, right? There could be a reason or there could be no reason. But
There's
the one thing that hasn't
reason to kill your girlfriend,
right? Well, the one thing that hasn't changed since from 96 till now, and I can't foresee it ever changing, is how tethered to phones people are, right?
Yep.
And now it's not a landline that we're confined to, where it's like if we're out of our house, they can't call us and torment us. We could be anywhere. We could be at the gym. We could be at work, at the library. If libraries still exist, I don't know.
I like that you mentioned that because after this movie came out, caller ID increased threefold.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
absolutely. But the concept of Scream is still terrifying to me, and I'm sure to most people. The movie itself isn't. It's just a pleasure to watch. But yes, to me, the legacy, as far as a legacy, it is still and will forever be scary until they come up with something different than a telephone for us to communicate, miles and miles and miles apart.
That's right.
Yeah. I showed this movie. I teach a horror film discussion class to teens at one of my theaters, and we did a unit on slashers, and I showed this one to them, and it was really, really cool seeing a group of teenagers, from today, their reactions to the movie, and they did laugh really, really hard when she called 911 on the computer.
Yeah. I remember thinking that was so clever when I saw that because I didn't
I
know
did
that
too.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's smart.
we had like a word processor computer that had number munchers on it. I'm like, oh, you can call 911 like that. I was like more impressed by that than when John Connor was like able to use the phone tone.
Oh yeah.
In Terminator 2. Like, but I thought that was cool, guys.
At the time, it was super cool.
Kim
Today, it makes the teenagers laugh because they were like, "That's not real, is it?" I was like, "Y'all."
Or I love the part where the sheriff goes, "What are you doing with a cellular telephone?"
Yeah.
Son?
Right.
Yeah.
And his answer is everyone has them. But at the time, I didn't get my first cell phone until after 2000. It came out in 1996. I didn't have one. None of my friends had one.
There's
You
a
were
lot of
lucky if
pagers.
you
They
had
all
a
had
cordless
pagers.
phone in your bedroom, or even your own phone line. Oh my god, you were so lucky.
Oh,
So
give me
yeah,
a second. I'm gonna show you something, but keep talking.
it was super sus if you had a cell phone or a car phone, or like that was,
There
like,
were some implications if you had your own cell phone.
that
when I
was
in
some rich
school.
kid stuff,
Well,
I
I'll
think
tell
the
you.
other thing too is I'm somebody who's always been more of a lower class family, and so the kids in this movie were super rich. I mean, look at their fucking houses.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Housing,
And
my
they have
God.
cell phones.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
one thing at school, you're always more a little scared of the kids who are from the rougher side of the tracks. And this made you second guess like that head cheerleader or that jockey, like, like people with money have way too much time on their hands. They're crazy.
Do any of you guys remember this from Nickelodeon?
That's awesome.
Ah.
That's so
Wow.
cool.
That's
I've hung on to it forever. So
Does it call SpongeBob directly?
no, well, it makes funny sounds. I don't know if it still works. I haven't had it plugged in since God knows when, but this was my telephone.
That's
once upon a
awesome.
time.
Yeah, I didn't even have my own phone in my room. I would hate it, especially if like a boy called the house and my brother answered. Oh my gosh. And then you'd have to be listening when you're talking to your girlfriends, whatever, and be like, I have two younger brothers, and so I'd be like, get off the phone, I can hear you. Oh, it's the worst. Or you're on the phone and someone gets on the internet and you hear that.
Yes.
Or
The
you're on the
dial-up.
internet and someone picks up the phone. Guys,
Yes.
you don't even know how much we suffered in the 90s. We
Holy
suffered.
moly. Right?
We suffered.
So crazy.
All right, now we're going to get into some fun rapid fire stuff here just before we end it up. This goes with the chat too, just some rapid fire craziness. Favorite kill in the movie, don't think too hard about it.
Casey Becker.
Love it.
Yeah, Casey Becker. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna be contrarian. I'm gonna say Tatum.
I'm going to say Tatum too.
Okay.
But I love
just
Casey
love her
Becker.
chucking those beer bottles at him.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And how he flips over her back. It's like some wrestling stuff there. And I just, the absurdity of it too. You guys know I love some puppets. I love me some craziness. The fact that, we can see her face crunch in that thing. It's just super cool. I love it. I love Casey Becker though too. It's a very close one for me.
Yeah. Me
Favorite scene?
The end scene in the kitchen between Sidney, Stu, and Billy, and that whole just everything, and then the moment when Sidney gets away and him on the phone with her and his mom and dad.
You really call them?
So mad. Yeah,
my mom and dad are. Yeah, that's probably mine. Is that or the you fucking hit me with the phone, dick? Yeah.
That whole kitchen sequence. From the moment Stu is revealed on is my favorite sequence of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the opening scene. Like I never get tired of it. I just
yeah.
love it so much. It's my favorite opening scene of any movie ever.
There's so many moments too where I'm like, it could be this one, it could be the it could be this one. So
that's true.
It's hard, guys.
My
really
runner-up would be Randy in the movie store.
I love that too. I love that.
Yes.
I love the fountain. There's so many. It's so hard to choose, guys. It's hard. I love the fountain scene too. Favorite character?
Stu,
baby. Get it up. Yep.
It's tough.
Is it really? Come on, Gory.
Come on.
I'm gonna go with Randy, just because, like I said, I'd never seen a character like that when I saw this movie, and that's was me in high school. Like constantly, like everyone's like, I was always comparing something to a horror movie or like, oh, that's just like this behind the scenes factor. My friends got so tired of it. And like how Tatum calls him Psycho at some point. Like a lot of my friends had like nicknames and stuff like that for me just because I thought I was kind of morbid. I was goth kid in high school. And a lot of my friends were like, you are, but you're also not like super morose. I actually have a picture for you guys. A friend of mine actually sent this for our yearbook. I'll show you.
Oh,
You guys want to
fun.
see me in high school?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll show you real quick. But yeah, I was really kind of happy and hyperactive like Randy, but I was really into horror movies.
Yeah.
So here, yeah, this is me in high school. Batman Forever.
Is that your autograph?
Go.
Yeah, it's my friend's yearbook. Something happened in my
Okay.
yearbook, but they actually wanted a picture of me because they wanted for the fashion page. I was like, I don't want to be on the fashion page. That's so stupid. And then they took a picture of me in the bathroom talking to somebody.
Well, at least it was you talking and not doing something else.
Well,
in the
that's
bathroom.
true.
They actually waited for me, but yeah, that's
That
me.
was
Like I
nice.
take the pantyhose and put them on my arms. So my friend though, when she said this to me, she's like, "You're the only person I know who can legit say it's not a phase."
Very cool. Very cool.
That's awesome.
A little embarrassing, but fun.
Oh.
Let's see. What's my next question? How do you guys think this film continues to be relevant today?
I think that, you know, the formula for these slasher movies for the most part hasn't changed. And like going back to something that I said earlier, is this is the first movie that pulls the curtain back, that shows for the most part what to expect, right? There's been people that have tried and failed to reinvent the wheel and some people that have succeeded, but this is the first that I can recall someone going, this is how, you know, this is how the hot dogs are made, kind of thing. But you know, not as gross. I'm sure. I don't even want to know how hot dogs are made.
Yeah.
But I think that is probably its appeal and why it stays so relevant. That would be my guess.
When the killer being an actual person, the mystery element for me is I mean the who done it is as a genre is as prolific as horror is, and I think, you know, you have the phone calls in the first film and seeing how they've evolved the phone to the most recent movie where, you know, she's on her smartphone trying to secure the house and someone's bypassing it. Like
with the changing technology, you can always make it so much more exciting with every movie.
Yeah. And the formula of this lends itself to changing with the technology. And I think that's not something that every franchise can do. I think it's not something that everyone can do. And again, staying clever, still feeling fresh, even though we're kind of doing variations on the same theme. So and teenagers are scary.
Yeah.
That's true. And I'm going to say this, and because I agree with everything y'all said, and talking about the specifically now why Scream 1 is still relevant in 2023 is because of the characters, the story, the cohesiveness, the execution, the direction, the production, the sound, the score, and all of this rolled up into this lightning in a bottle moment of a movie where they're literally, this is as close to a flawless movie as I've ever seen. And there's not one moment I would change or say, oh, that. I want it just like it is. Like Wes Craven left it for us. It's perfect. And I think that any movie that reaches that level in history, no matter the genre, they will always be relevant and it'll always hold up. And there's a few of those movies we could talk about, you know, Back to the Future, for example. still holds up in my book today. Star Wars Episode 4 and Empire, those movies, those hold up still
My
because they
favorite
all
movie
have.
ever.
Yeah, I mean, really, because what they
Mind
all.
about Nav says V for Vendetta. Yeah, maybe.
What's that? Oh, I love that movie.
I'm guessing. I'm spitballing here.
Good job.
Actually,
good job.
yeah. No, Empire Strikes Back. That's my favorite
Yeah.
movie ever.
Good.
Ever.
I think for me, one of the things is the honesty, and that honesty about human nature. I think when a film or a story period talks about what it really means to be human, we listen, and that doesn't change. Sometimes the mean bitchy girl is also heroic. Sometimes the doofus guy is really brave. Sometimes the person you discounted as the cameraman, he's got something special about him. You can love a killer. You can find them incredibly charismatic. That's why some of them have cults. That a lot of people aren't just one thing, that we're complicated. And for that reason, you can't ever really trust anybody because people are so many facets of so many different things. And like Danny said in the chat, quoting MCR, teenagers do scare the living shit out of me. They have all these hormones. They're as strong as an adult, but they don't always have the wherewithal or the long-term vision to see where those things end up. And they
The maturity of it. Yeah.
Crazy impulsive things. I have a teenager. It's scary. So I think they'll always be relevant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a 12-year-old. We're close enough.
Oh my gosh.
Trust me. Close enough.
I'll have to give you a welcome to being a teenage parent present or something. I don't know. We'll watch Scream together. We'll just commiserate.
Yes.
We'll just commiserate. We'll just drink and be like, they're still them inside a little bit.
I love it.
And we got here we go. I was trying to find it. Thank you, Brandon, so much for the $2 super chat. Brandon is a member of the B Movie Coven, which, by the way, two people here are too. Craven Something Scary is, and Maveryk. By the way, we have a movie watch party next week. We're watching PG Gorman. It's gonna be really fun. And Brandon says, as far as I'm concerned, Scream isn't overplayed. I don't think you can overplay it. I just watched it today. I'm gonna watch it again with Craven on Wednesday. I never ever get tired of this movie. And Brandon,
Never tired.
let's see, what do I got for you? Ooh, I got this for you.
Hello, Sydney.
Love it.
Love.
Iconic.
That never gets old either.
It never does. I love how he does that with her and not with Casey. It's so she's the only one who gets called by name.
Yeah.
And then the very first time we heard it,
Hello, Sydney.
like it's just it gets under your skin.
Yeah.
How do you guys rank the first? This one probably is going to be easier than when we do the sequels. But how do you rank this movie with the rest of the franchise?
It's my number one.
Mine
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it's my number one.
It's the
No
gold
question.
standard. It's
What's-
the top shelf.
What's everybody's ranking? Even the chat. What is your guys' ranking for the franchise? Mine's pretty firm. So
Oh, see, mine shifts all the time.
I'm number
Other
two
than
and
the
three.
number one, like the original is always my number one.
there's two that shift for me, but it's pretty. They're with the exception of those, everything is like mine's 1, 2, 4, 3, 5. That's where.
What the crap? You just stole my list.
Is
You
that your
actually
list?
picked my homework. That's my list. 2 and 4. I do, if I'm being honest, I think 4 is a better film. 2, I recognize so many flaws with it, but I can't help that. I just love it. It's like junk food for me. It is my second favorite, but yeah, that's exactly my ranking.
I love 4 too. I really love 4.
I love 4 so much.
4 is my jam. In fact, my ratings are 1, 4, 2, 3, 5.
Pretty close.
Yes.
I feel like 4 is the one next to 1 that I probably watch the most.
I think 2 is that's why I
2
put
is
2
mine.
second, just because I watch it so much. Even though honestly, when I first saw 2, that was the one I was so pissed when I left the theater, mostly because they killed Randy. But yeah, I was so mad. But no, it's just I think it's just because Sidney is still like such a character who's going through so many changes. Gale really becomes a really interesting character. Dewey does like the way these characters develop is so so fun and so interesting.
That
And we
chase
do get
scene.
Randy in it.
That chase scene too in 2 is my favorite chase scene of all time. My favorite with Gale in the studio. It's the best. It's
So
the
good.
best.
Yeah.
So good. We're going to talk about Scream next week. Before I talk more about that, if you guys met somebody, and with this movie, it's a little hard, but if you met somebody who was like, I don't really like horror movies, they're very much a Sidney. They don't like horror movies. What would you tell them to recommend that they see Scream? Or somebody who's maybe on the fence, they're like, well, it seems kind of cool, but for whatever reason, they haven't seen it yet. Like, recommend it to somebody who hasn't seen it.
I'd probably lean into the comedy personally, only because I tend to find people who are on the fence with horror, I can usually rope them in with something that's funny. The cleverness of the script, and how much fun it is. It's a fun movie to watch. So if you want something that's fun, if you want something that you're, it's I wouldn't recommend this to somebody who didn't like horror. Right. This would not be one I would try to convince somebody who doesn't like horror, because if you don't like, unless I would lean into the cleverness of it in the script.
Yeah, no, those are great points. I think the easiest segue, this would be the easiest segue for someone who's maybe on the fence, maybe they're a little bit afraid of scary movies for whatever reason. My wife, perfect example. This has been how I've gotten her to start watching scary movies. She doesn't do the supernatural stuff. She's not down with all that, which that's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of those. They just aren't scary to me, but Scream was what I showed her. And it was a good, it was easing her into, we just watched Halloween 1978 today, because Scream kind of, like I said, it exposes what these are. It kind of gives you the breakdown of what to expect while giving you a great story at the same time. So I think that is why I would recommend it to them. If you're on the fence, this is the way to go, and let it see where it takes you afterwards. You may be doing Terrifier afterward, you may be like, all right, I'm cool. I can do it. I can hang. So
kick your tires with here. And because you want to start them off with the very best of the best, right? So here's the cream of the very crop. Mr. Royce is above. Start here.
Oh, you wouldn't recommend Tusk?
I would not recommend Tusk. No.
I would.
Sorry, not happening. But another thing too is this does have, that's a little bit unique, especially nowadays. It was more common or more often in some of the older 80s slashers, but there is this whodunit murder mystery.
Yeah.
It truly is a murder mystery at the heart of this movie. And so that's, some people are interested in, a murder mystery more than horror, and that may be a way to lead them, kind of say, hey, look, got a great whodunit. I challenge you to watch this and try to figure it out. And let's talk about it afterwards, and then see what happens. So that's probably what I would do. But if they don't like whodunits, or they have no desire to see anyone being chased or anything else, it may be a hard sell. But I like Maveryk's idea about saying, hey, look, just try this out first. Give it a shot, because this is the very best. I promise you're not getting this horrible, no budget film that's got that's shot on an iPhone jerking around the house. I know you do, Gory. Nothing personal, no defense. It's Gory B. But I'm trying to say,
I'm the black sheep even among horror fans.
Right.
I like what you had to say, because my son, being raised with me in Danny Nightmare, for him, horror movies are I don't know, watching whatever normal parents make you watch all the time. He just gets kind of tired of a horror movie again. But he loves Scream. When we tell him we're going to go see a horror movie at the theater, he's like, do you want to come? He won't want to go. He'll go if it's a Marvel movie or something. But he won't want to go. But he loves murder mysteries. He was bummed that we didn't get Glass Onion here, because he loves Knives Out. He watches the old Perot show, and he loves Scream. He's actually going to go see Scream 6 with me. So I think if you love a good whodunit, this is one of the best. And I also think it's also a high school kind of coming of age story. I think it's resonates with you even if you don't like horror, just because the characters are so good.
True.
Especially if you like John Hughes type movies. It's a little bit darker, but I think it's a cool segue into horror that's not super scary. And it's really funny. And I think if you're somebody who has been like, horror movies are kind of all the same. I mean, even my brother, Zigma, who watches the show a lot, he's not into horror. He says that all the time. They're all the same. He likes Scream, and I think it's because it acknowledges that audience as well. It's not just for us. It's also for people who got sick of horror movies or who think that they're all the same. It acknowledges those people, and it says yeah, I see you, but look at these fun things about the genre. And then I think it makes it to where we can all kind of have fun together and we can all enjoy horror together. It's just really unique and special. I think anybody who just loves movies, horror is a genre. It's a part of that. And even if you just want to dip your baby toe in, this would be the shallow end of the pool that I think you absolutely need to put in your horror 101 box.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you guys have any final thoughts on Scream? By the way, guys, in the chat, if you have any questions for anybody on this panel, get them in quick because we're going to wrap it up here real soon. Final thoughts on Scream before we're done with Scream. I know, guys, it had to happen eventually. Don't cry.
I'm already.
You're like, Gory, we've been here for 3.5 hours. Please let us go home.
I'm having a blast. This is awesome. No, I love this movie. It was, I think, my first horror theater experience that I can remember. And I was fortunate enough that it happened to be what it is, it wasn't something awful that I was like, oh, I'll never go see a horror movie again. It was riveting. Everything about it is just, it's perfection to me. And yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I'll never get tired of it. Next to Curse of Michael Myers, it is probably my second or first most rented movie as a kid. It was Scream and Curse of Michael Myers. Those were my two. Cool kid. I was a cool, I had cool parents that they signed the little waiver at Blockbuster. I could rent whatever I wanted. They didn't care.
My mother got tired of having to go to the front desk at the movie theater and be like, yes, you saw her here last week. She can go see this
right.
Movie. They're like, are you sure? And they're like, yes, and I was sure last week, and I'm going to be sure next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Final thoughts for me are just, it's my favorite franchise. It's my favorite movie, Scream 1 of all time. I don't know how many times, honestly, I've seen the movie. Probably 200 times, maybe more, and in 20 years, and I never get tired of it. I don't care. I know it inside out, and I still jump. I still feel tense in all the scenes that are tension building. Like when Sidney's in the cop car in the Jeep, when he has the keys, he just goes, he just disappears, and he's walking around, opening the doors, unlocking them. That all those scenes still get to me. I mean, I don't care how many times I've seen them.
When he goes in the back part, I'm like,
yes,
that's the part where you're like, Sidney, look behind you.
Yes, look behind you. It's like he's right there. All those scenes.
My girl, I tell her every time, but she never hears me.
Same here. Doesn't work here either. So I'm grateful for it. I guess I'll just say this. I'm grateful that this movie and ultimately franchise, but came from this movie, came to be at all. That Kevin wrote it, the studios bought it, Wes Craven directed it, and all of these amazing cast members came together to do it. And including Marco Beltrami, which we didn't talk a lot about music, but Beltrami, fantastic score. Oh my gosh.
And it was his first one ever. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Yes.
But this was his first feature film, and it's incredible.
That's right. And the studio was pushing for him to use a more seasoned composer. And Wes heard a demo that was given to him, and he said, no, I want to go with Marco. He stuck to his guns and hired him on it for his first movie. And now the guy's IMDb resume is ridiculous. It's incredible.
Craven had incredible endings.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yes. Yeah. He knew. So, yeah. Love you, Scream. And last thing I'll say is Wednesday night, Gory B and me and all of you, I hope, are watching Scream together on my channel. 9:30 Central Time.
I think I'm going to
9:15.
dress up again too. I'm having fun.
Oh yeah, heck
Ooh.
yeah.
And I have the phone
Oh,
ready.
and
though.
don't
Part of
forget,
it.
I you know what my cosplay is going to be for Scream 3.
Oh,
I've done it before.
I've met her at the Stu trial. Yes, it was Gory B Weathers.
I can't wait
For
so
that.
exciting.
Can't wait.
So what are you guys working on your channels, and where can people find you? I will tell you guys in the chat because I saw a comment. Everyone's links are in the description below. So I've got their Instagram, their Twitter, their YouTube channels. Kim has a podcast, Ghoulish Tendencies. So I put her link there for that. She does have a YouTube channel. She doesn't have like a lot of videos on it.
I think it's like my cat.
It's Kim Douthit. But check her out. Her and I love live tweeting The Last Drive-In, and it's coming up this Friday. So hang out.
Oh, I love Joe Bob.
Yeah, so follow Kim. She's just good for good tweet. And her podcast, definitely check that out. What are you guys working on your channels, and what can they look forward to? And sub of everybody here.
Kim, did you want to go first?
Oh, yeah. We've got for the podcast I'm a part of. We have we just had a new episode come out actually on Rosemary's Baby. I've been doing a series on cursed films, and so I just did Rosemary's Baby, and we're recording a new true crime one on Tuesday. Our podcast comes out bi-weekly. So yeah, that's been going on.
Nice.
that's yeah, and then I do ghost tours. If you're in Seattle, come and do a ghost tour. And
we have a whole hidden city under the ground in Seattle, guys, and Kim will take you down there. You guys saw Malignant? That's where it's set.
Yeah, but it
nice.
I know they didn't do a good job, but
I was in the movie theater actively yelling at the movie screen.
We'll have to talk about
there's no what it looks like. Anyway, yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, Maveryk Media. I should be somewhere down in the description. If you're not subscribed, please check it out. Like my buddy Craven over here, I didn't know that you were doing a stream on Wednesday. I'm actually doing Stabathon leading up to Scream 6 on Friday. So either if you can't make it to Craven's stream, or you just can't get enough of the Scream movies, come on by my channel Friday night. This Friday it will be at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be watching the first Scream movie. I will be giving out, I have some Blu-ray steelbooks, so I will be giving out some, there's like Evil Dead, Total Recall, Rambo First Blood. So I will be giving out some steelbooks at the end of that stream.
Nice.
So subscribe, and if you like the Nintendo, the Nickelodeon phone that I just showed you, I just started a review of the first 7 seasons of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So yes,
cool.
so you could. I've only done the first episode. I've kind of been sidetracked. I went to Super Nintendo World with my son this weekend, so I wasn't able to work on episode 2, but that should be coming out hopefully by the end of this upcoming week. Also, I've been getting some boxes. The last one, or the first one I did, was Culture Fly. They're like horror boxes, and the stuff that I'm not keeping, I'm also giving those away. So if you like free stuff, come to my channel. I give stuff away all the time. So,
you're like Oprah.
yeah, I was gonna start showing everything, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna turn into the Carrot Top of YouTube with like props and stuff. So I'll just hold off. And
you're too dapper for that.
If you're curious, come by my channel, check out my videos, leave a comment, and let me know what you like, and you may end up winning some of the cool stuff I'm giving away.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I think everyone loves free stuff and free horror stuff.
Free horror stuff. That's what it. I mean, some of these movies aren't horror, but they're classics. Like, who doesn't want Rambo First Blood in the Steelbook, right?
Tell me the kills in that are not horrific.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right? There is a aspect of horror. I mean, his life is like a horror movie, after post Vietnam. So,
and to think, all Rambo wanted was a burger.
I know.
That's all it
All he
took.
wanted was something.
So relatable.
All he had to do is give him a burger at Dairy Queen. He'd have been
You
fine.
need to pair that with the menu. Watch them back to back.
So, just one other thing I want to add. Wednesday night we talked about it. Wednesday night, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. Gory B will be with me on the panel. We are watching Scream '96. I'm so excited. So you guys got to be there. Scream Fest is what I'm calling it. And every Wednesday night, starting this week until all the way through March 8th, we're watching all 5 movies and consecutively week over week, And then we'll have Scream 6 on that Friday that we'll all go see in the theaters. I do want to add one other thing real quick, though. This Saturday on the 11th, I'm going to be having a guest on my channel, Amy Donald, who plays Megan, the actress who plays Megan in the movie Megan, is going to be joining me on Saturday night. So please come and check it out. I've already got the live stream set up. We'll be live, and she's going to come. We're going to chat about her experience playing the role of Megan, and who knows, she might even do her famous
dance,
our famous archive or what is it called, cartwheel dance. Who knows?
Wow,
So,
that kid's talented.
It's going to be fun, and a little extra. My daughter, who's going to join me for the very first time ever on a live stream, and she's very excited. She's 12, and Amy, who plays Megan, just turned 13 like last week. So she's going to ask her questions as well. So it's going to be a really special stream Saturday night, 9:30 Central. So I hope you guys can come.
That sounds awesome. I cannot wait. That's really cool.
Did your daughter? Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ask him. Did your daughter see Megan?
Yes,
Craven?
we went and saw it.
Okay,
We've seen it. She loved it. Yes,
that's going to be so cool for her.
Let me just tell you, she was already telling folks that her friends at school that her dad has a YouTube channel and he's going to meet Megan. And then I said, "Hey, I got a question for you." I was like, "Would you like to come on the stream live with me and talk to her?" And she's like lit up like a Christmas tree.
That's gonna make you feel like the coolest dad ever.
Oh, I got some dad cred on this.
Oh, I'm proud of you, man. That's awesome. That's super cool.
And now she gets to tell her friends she's going to meet Megan. So
I'm not missing this. I have to see this.
We were talking about it earlier too. Came home from school and we were talking. She's like,
"What's her name? Do you mind?"
My daughter's name is Lydia. Yeah, it's Lydia.
Oh, great name.
Yep, Lydia. And she's like, "Have you got your questions yet for me for Amy for this weekend?" I said, "Yeah, I got a few." And she's like, "They better not be my questions." I'm like, "Oh."
She's marking her territory.
She's there. She's so excited. She already got her questions ready. So I said, cool. we're going to get together later this week and kind of go over them. But it's going to be a special stream. And
I love that.
I'm really, I'm excited about it. So
that's awesome.
Thank you.
I love that. What's going on in the world of Gory? Tomorrow, we used to do live reviews on Horror Addicts on Tuesdays. It's moving to Monday because of Danny's work schedule. And his boss, Doug, Danny works at a really cool nerd store called The Time Capsule. He will be joining us. So that'll be fun. We're going to review Knock at the Cabin tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Horror Addicts. And then Wednesday, you'll find me over on Craven Something Scary.
Yeah.
Watching Scream with him. And I've been watching a lot of these Scream movies with him on Wednesdays this month. Mm-hmm. And on this channel next Sunday, same gory time, same gory channel, Scream 2, guys. Scream 2.
Get it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
I love
so that's already up on the channel. You can click on that. You can set your reminders so you don't forget. You can click that bell. And I have my Scream 3 one up for the week after that. Then I'll be doing Scream 4 and then Scream 5. And then it's the Oscars on Horror Addicts. There's a break. Then we're going to do Scream 6. And then after that, all the Evil Deads. Guys, I got so many things planned. It's going to be amazing.
Nice.
Hopefully you guys will come hang out with me because I love talking horror with my horrific friends. Let's see. And then next week, my guest, next week, Craven will be back.
Yeah.
And I know you guys love his Scream knowledge, so more of that is coming. My friend Romeo from the Nightmare Crypt will be here. And my friend Lee from Drum Dums will be here. So I think we're going to have an awesome time talking about Scream 2. And yeah, anything you guys want to say or just want to say goodbye to everyone? Oh, I have comments. Let's see. I looked for some questions. Jason, can't wait for your Megan stream. My husband is streaming for the first time. He loved Megan. That's super cool.
Oh, nice. Well, I can't wait for that. That's so cool. Glad
I
you're going
can't
to be
wait
there.
for it. That's me rad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Charlie Greer asked, would you consider doing the Scream TV series? I did review season 1 over on Horror Addicts, which is the channel I do with my husband and my son. So look up Horror Addicts. You can find my season 1 review there. But yeah, maybe I'll do some more. Would I do the Friday the 13th series? Yes, I will. That's definitely going to happen. That is 12 movies. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it this year, but there's usually a Friday the 13th every year. So maybe next year, but it's going to happen. Let's see. Horror Addicts. You should give some Italian giallos a try. Yeah, we actually both like Mario Bava a lot, my son and I, and early Argento or Essential Whodunits. Yeah, giallos are cool. He loves any kind of whodunit. And JT says, I want to make sure I'm subbed to all on the panel. I've been subbed to Gory, Steve, and of course, what is Mav's channel and Kim's. So you can go @ Maveryk Media. It's also in the description, and you're going to see it in the credits. And Kim, go to ghoulishntendencies.com for her podcast. If you can't remember that, go to her website. I think it's Kim Douthit, right?
Yeah. And anywhere that Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can subscribe to podcasts, you can find ours. We actually just started putting the episodes up on YouTube. It's just a really big pain in the butt.
So all in the description, loads of links for you to check out. Please, while the credits are playing, go check them out because these guys are incredibly awesome people. I'm a big fan of them, so I'm very honored that all 3 of you came to join me because I love you guys, and you guys are all so smart, and you guys love these movies so much. You guys have such great insight. So this was really an honor. Thank you all so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Gory. We appreciate the invitation. It's very nice of you to invite us. Thank you.
Hopefully you all come back again sometime here. Don't be a stranger now. Come back down to that Gory Hall. Girls get wet.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, let's all say goodbye, and then we're going to cut to them credits.
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye. Take care.
Bye, everybody. And until
Bye-bye.
Blessed be.